Chapter 100. Finally, I have some time to check my stats. After taking a bath in the small lake in Abyssal, Michael and Gaia cleaned the place. Of course, Gaia protested to clean the place, but after Michael agreed to let her sample the dishes in the restaurant he's going to build, she did her part without bitching about it. Since Michael had no need to cultivate like others, when he returned to the sect, he hit the bed and took a long nap. Gaia went to the forest to practice her archery and hunt some wild boars. She planned to hand over her hunt to Raylene and stuff her belly as usual. He was alone in his room and entered the system the moment he woke up. System version 2.0 Host, Michael. Cultivation level, body refining stage, level 10. Experience points, 180000/200000 badass points, 78,000 skills and spells, wind blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignitia, LVL1 lightning dash, LVL1 energy devolver, LVL1 death range, LVL2 techniques, swords of destiny, 80% mastery. Occupation, core disciple of Sunrise Sect, the guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal. Status, healthy goals, control the world, rebuild the order of death. Utility, function, banker, LVL2, ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 5 badass points, wealth, 685,000 gold. Special trait, 5-star alchemist. Subordinates, Gaia, loyalty level 95%, base of operation, Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal. He almost forgot he checked his stats after taking the pain inducer pill. The pain he felt at that time was the reason for his negligence. First things first, system. How much I owe you? 22,000 badass points, host. Take it and make me debt-free. He didn't feel upset or bad to see 22,000 badass points fade away in a second, but on the contrary, he felt relieved. Now that he's debt-free, he could take another loan if ever needed it. Let's do some upgrades. Ignitia. He selected his main offensive spell and stared at the upgrade details. The next upgrade would cost him 8,000 badass points, and after upgrading it, he could fire lightning bolts from both of his hands. Plus, the power of the lightning bolts would double, as anyone under body strengthening stage level 8 would be severely injured or killed in an instant if they didn't cast a powerful defense spell to defend themselves from the lightning bolts. System, upgrade the Ignitia to level 2, good choice, host. He was now quite familiar with the system's occasional human-like comments. He watched the badass points drop from 56,000 to 48,000, and it was totally worth it as far as he was concerned. Then he gazed at another one of his main spells, Lightning Dash. Ever since the assassins tracked his moves when he was using the Lightning Dash, he wanted to upgrade the spell. Because Lightning Dash enabled him to move extremely faster than his enemies, he utilized this speed to attack his enemies before they could even react or cast a defense spell. After upgrading the Lightning Dash to level 2, he could use it with the Ignitia, as usual, to become literally untouchable in a battle. System, upgrade it to level 2, in a flash, another 10,000 badass points disappeared, leaving him with 38,000 badass points. With these two upgraded spells, anyone under body strengthening stage level 8 had no chance of surviving a battle with Michael, but he wanted to increase his power further to the point that he wanted to kill anyone in the body strengthening stage with not much trouble. Of course, while he was on Lucifer's persona, no one in the body strengthening stage could match him because of the fear toxin and death range skill. Do I have to buy a new spell? Michael asked himself and began to rummage through the system store, but not a single spell appeared to be a must-have or increased his strength. Therefore, he decided to find or buy a new spell and learn it through the mentor function without spending any more badass points on spells. Open the subordinates window. Right after he exited the system store, he entered the subordinates window with two people in his mind. One was Jack, who had the trait of blacksmith, and Raylene, who Michael guessed would have the trait of a chef considering her cooking skills. Both of them would be good investments to him, especially Raylene, as he was about to open up a restaurant to make more gold coins. System, assume Raylene has the trait of a 1-star chef. How many badass points it would cost me to make her a 3-star or a 4-star? 10,000 badass points to upgrade her ability to 3-star chef and 15,000 badass points for the latter. Alright, what about Jack? 30,000 badass points to turn him into a 3-star blacksmith and 40,000 to turn him into a 4-star blacksmith. Remember, host, 3-star blacksmith cannot forge anything above medium quality rare. If you want your subordinate to forge you a high-quality rare weapon, you have to make him a 4-star blacksmith. What about epic weapons and legendary weapons? Epic weapons can only be forged by a 5-star blacksmith, and legendary weapons require a 6-star blacksmith who must be at the core strengthening stage. Makes sense. For now, I'll only take Raylene as my subordinate and make her a 4-star chef. The reason for the cost difference between turning Raylene into a star chef and Jack into a star blacksmith was the latter had the ability to increase one's power, unlike a chef. Fortunately, the low cost of making Raylene a 4-star chef worked in his way, as he was planning to build not just one restaurant but restaurant chains all over this world. Other than the high cost of making Jack a 3 or 4-star level blacksmith, he wanted to enter the Nether Realm and search the realm for a better weapon. Since he already bought the Lucky Cat Tavern, a chef to cook delicious food took the top place on his priority list. Should I make her a 5-star chef? Yes, you should, host. It's only 20,000 badass points. The system sounded very excited, but Michael hesitated because of Raylene's safety. He wouldn't always be around to save her if someone tried to capture her because of her talent. Therefore Michael wanted to know Gaia's thoughts before deciding, because she would know more about the chefs and their demand in this world more than him. He exited the system and jumped down from his bed to check out his herbal garden. It was time he had new pills and potions to the store other than the revitalization pill, healing potion, and arch energy boosters. Just as he was about to step out of his house, he saw Gaia dragging a huge wild boar, and when she saw him, she waved and smiled at him. She then picked out the arrow that was sticking out of the boar's head. I want this boar roasted. Where the heck is Raylene? Walk with me, he said, and began to walk in the direction of the herbal garden as Gaia followed him behind, reluctantly leaving the boar behind. What do you know about star chefs? What star-level chef are you talking about? Tell me about a 4-star. They are hard to find but not impossible. Back in Nagaland, we had 2 4-star chefs. Now that you reminded them, I'm craving for some lamb chops they used to make me. Even after she was healed, she still continued to eat like usual. This very morning she ate 2 pies and a whole lot of biscuits before going into the forest to catch something for lunch. Don't tell me you're also a 4-star chef. Michael shook his head with a soft smile as she sighed. Then what about the 5-star chefs? She became very curious and wanted to know why he was asking about the chefs. Those bastards are very rare, just as rare as a 5-star alchemist. There's only a couple of 5-star chefs in Elon. I heard there's one in the Royal Land and one in the main branch of Ruby Cuisine in Kethen. The Ruby Cuisine was the restaurant he met Peyton and Zanali and offered to join the Guardians as their trainee. Let's assume Raylene is a 5-star chef. Do you think someone will try to kidnap her? His words made her halt her steps and frown. She sensed he's up to something and wanted to know what. Are you hiding something from me? She valued honesty in this friendship and didn't want any secrets between them. That was why she decided to reveal everything about her over a slice of juicy boar meat. Except for the existence of the system, he too wanted to share everything with her because she regarded her as his best friend and partner in crime after she reached 95% loyalty. After seeing Damien and hearing about the prophecy, he had a feeling that there's something more to his transmigration from the earth. His instincts told him that soon he would learn more about his transmigration, and at that time, he didn't want it to be a secret between them that might break her trust. Also, if you tell Gaia that you and Abraz are the same person, the system will deduct badass points. Abraz is a textbook beta and the system does not want the host to accept a beta persona. Just as he was thinking about what to tell her and what not, the system sounded in his mind. It was a tone of warning and he could feel the gravity of the system's warning. Fortunately, he had a perfect cover story that had a mix of truth and lies that would perfectly make sense to Gaia without exposing his biggest secret, the system. It's time I tell you who I am and where did I come from. Chapter 101, We Are Alone. Now tell me about your past. The two of them were at one of the mountain peaks of the Sunrise sect, alone. Sitting on the edge, they could see the entire Sunrise sect and even the river town in the distance. Michael used the time he spent getting to the mountain peak to piece all the lies and truths together so she wouldn't doubt him. Looking at her face, he took a long deep breath. What I'm going to tell must stay between us. You can trust me, human. I'm your friend. It wasn't a surprise to Michael seeing the sincerity in her eyes. After all, she reached 95% loyalty. Besides, Michael regarded Gaia as his only friend nowadays. "I'm not from this world, Gaia. I came from another world." "What? You're kidding me." "Ha ha ha, hilarious." She began to laugh, and it was obvious that she didn't believe his words, but her laughter faded away when she stared at his serious face. "You're serious?" she asked with a shaky voice as Michael nodded. "Yes, I was brought here from my world by a mysterious light." Michael saw the confusion on her face and continued, "After the light brought me to a place called the Sanctuary, where a group of people protected the cosmic stream." Gaia finished his sentence and began to shiver with no control over her body. For the moment Michael ignored her shock and went on, "When the light brought me there, the sanctuary was burnt to the ground by the soldiers of Thusia. One of the men they killed looked just like me. His name was Abraz. Before he died, with the help of that mysterious light, he merged his soul fragment with me, leaving all his memories and knowledge to me, except for the part about the mysterious light and the truth about his original body." What Michael said was true. Gaia stared at him blankly for a few moments in silence and analyzed everything she just heard in her mind. First of all, he didn't look like he was lying, and the more she thought about this, what he said made sense. Most people in the world had no clue about the sanctuary and the cosmic stream, and only a few people had heard about the two, but they considered it as a myth. However, the ancestors of the Nagas believed in the existence of the cosmic stream and the sanctuary. Some of the ancestors were somehow able to leave clues about their existence and the treasure they were protecting. The Nagas also believed the sanctuary was home to countless secret long-lost knowledge, and only the protectors were able to grasp this wisdom. By taking all the memories of Abraz, Gaia believed that Michael was able to get hold of this ancient knowledge, hence, he was able to heal her crippled cultivation and perform many unbelievable feats. "System, do me a favor." Gaia saw him close his eyes for a moment and then open after a few seconds. "Close your eyes." Gaia felt his warm hand on his shoulder as she closed her eyes. The very next moment, she felt a hot surge in her brain as she started to experience Abraz's betrayal and pain. With the help of the system, Michael made Gaia feel what he feels. Ah! Soon, Gaia's body twitched violently as she roared in anger and pain. Michael was able to control his anger and pain because of the many years of training and meditating, but she had no training. Therefore, when Michael made her feel Abraz's pain, she lost her mind for a few moments because of the immense grief and anger. Following her mad roar, she started to bleed through her ears and nostrils. Michael withdrew his hand and waited for her to break out of this misery. "Is this how you feel?" He saw her teary eyes and heard her stutter. "Yes, Abraz and I may be two different people, but when the light merged his soul fragment with mine, I have not only his knowledge and memoirs but also his pain, grief, anger, and all of his feelings. Before he left this world, I promised him I'd avenge him and his people, no matter what." "How are you still here and not on Thusia?" Since Gaia felt Abraz's feelings, she wanted to burn the entire Thusia to the ground and rip Layla into pieces. "Because I'm not stupid. Thusia sees the cosmic stream, which means they have a powerful source of energy in their hands. The only way to get my revenge is to become stronger than King Thusia, and then, I will take everything from him. Will take everything from him. Human." She squeezed his hand and decided to avenge Abraz together after experiencing his emotions. "But the longer we wait, the stronger they grow. Human, we should act sooner rather than later." She feared that with the use of the cosmic stream, the king of Thusia and all his men would grow exponentially stronger and become impossible to kill. The cosmic stream is a source of pure energy, much more powerful than the arch energy, but although he has the cosmic stream, he can't absorb its energy continuously, unless he wants to explode into million tiny pieces. Still, his cultivation speed would be insane. "Yes, but don't forget I have a war god body, courtesy of the mysterious light. Let him have his fun with the cosmic stream for now." They fist bumped and grinned devilishly. "Did you see the mysterious light you were talking about again?" Since she believed he told her everything, she felt happy. She could tell that he trusts her as she trusts him. "No, after Abraz's soul fragment merged with my soul, I woke up days after near the forest of the river town. You know what happened next. You saved me." She grabbed his hand and held it against her chest tightly. Even to this second, she could close her eyes and recall the first time she saw him vividly in her mind. At that time, she didn't know he would be her savior and best friend. Both of them came a long way since then, and now, they were like a nail and flesh. Will it hurt you to turn Raylene into a star chef? The last time you used your knowledge to heal me, you almost died. He could sense the concern in her voice, and it warmed his heart because no one ever worried about him before. He wanted to treasure this feeling and her friendship. The arrogant haughty snake is his best friend now, and he would do everything to protect her, and he knew she would do the same for him. Don't worry, it won't, but you have to keep an eye on her when I'm in the nether realm. We don't want to lose our head chef, do we? He'll take care of our business while you're away. Human, and speaking of human, is Ghost your real name? I will tell my name when you do something nice for me. Until then, you have to call me Ghost. You ruined a perfect moment, bastard. Rolling her eyes, she punched him on the shoulder, seeing she failed to know his name. Also, while I'm in the nether realm, you have to kill these people, Lucifer style. Michael retrieved a list of criminals in his list and their whereabouts and handed it over to Gaia. He wanted to spread the legend of Lucifer around the kingdom more so people would come to believe him as a vigilante who kills the criminals and cleanse the kingdom of the sinners. Kill 8 random criminals and 2 enemies of our own, and people would think that too as the victims of Lucifer rather than the enemies of Ghost. Nice plan. Do you want me to dress as Lucifer too? I have something for you. Michael closed his eyes and entered the system to get her something awesome like his suits of armor. I put the armor you should wear in our space ring. A few seconds after, Michael opened his eyes and said. The suit of armor he chose for her was none other than a female version of his Lucifer armor. It cost him 5,000 badass coins to buy the new suit of armor for her, and now he had 33,000 badass points remaining. Cool. I also put a few bottles of fear toxin inside. Remember to apply the fear toxin on the suit and leave no evidence behind except the mark of Lucifer. Finally some action. Excitement filled her eyes and she couldn't wait to hunt some criminals at night like her friend. We should go now. Since he told her everything she has to do while he's in the nether realm, he could enter the nether realm with no worries. For now, the only things he had to do was turn Raylene into a 5-star chef and start his first high-end restaurant, as well as making new products for the Majestic. As for the interior and the design for the restaurant, he had Ristorante La Sponda in Italy in his mind. He dined in this fine restaurant when he was on a job in Italy and liked the elegant atmosphere. Plus the Lucky Cat Tavern was a perfectly suitable place for this makeover. During the daytime, Gaia could put together a group of talented builders to achieve his vision and continue to renovate the sect. Now that I'm finished establishing the backstory and necessary fillers, I can jump onto the juicy action part. Nether Realm Arc/Lucifer will begin from the. Stay tuned. Chapter 102. From the earth comes the bounty of diversity. The herbs were rising toward the sun, showing off their lush green and sparkling colors as if they were in a carnival parade. The green herbs made a green quilt for the senses upon the flower bed. Michael's herbal garden was a sort of binary. The neat areas were very, very neat and the wild areas were very, very wild. The two extremes right next to one another enhanced one another. The garden was neither too small nor too big, but it was the size of a typical green. Because of the effects of the fertilizer Michael got from the system, the herbs had grown quicker and healthier. Some herbs grew as tall as an average man, while some flowers were as big as a 10-year-old child. Don't water the dragon root too much, and Jack, get away from the angel catnip. Elder Reiner, who taught herbology in the Sunrise sect, was walking through his new favorite place, Michael's herbal garden. He was supervising the disciples and ensuring the herbs grow as healthier as they could. Ever since Michael began to grow the herbs in the garden, the old shaggy land became a lush garden that filled the surrounding air with soothing therapeutic fragrance. While Elder Reiner was supervising the disciples, he saw sect leader Claire rushing towards him. Elder Reiner, have you seen Ghost? No, Jack. She didn't even wait for Elder Reiner to finish his sentence as she shouted at Jack. Are you searching for me, sect leader Claire? Just as Jack was about to point his fingers at the figures walking towards them, Claire heard Michael's voice and turned back. Thank God you're here. Why aren't you at the auction fair, NWHOA? When her eyes fell on Gaia, shock and surprise took aback Claire. The mortal girl who was following around Michael had turned into a body refining stage level 3 cultivator in just a matter of days. Everyone except one person swarmed around Gaia like ants around a sugar cube. Michael stepped aside and let Gaia have her moment. He knew the snake loved attention and admiration. Claire and Elder Reiner stared at Gaia speechlessly while Gaia stood there with a smug face. Michael could tell she is itching to reveal her real cultivation level. How do you? I was lucky enough to find a 10,000 years hazel lotus on my way from Phoenix Island to here. He made me a potion using it and boom, my cultivation talents went straight up, said Gaia proudly. The hazel lotus was not a made-up herb but a real rare herb that could revitalize the arch-energy roots in one's body. A 10,000 years old hazel lotus could indeed make an incompetent cultivator into a genius, and although they didn't find the herb in truth, its medicinal quality helped the both of them come up with the story to cover up Gaia's sudden transformation. Come here. After Claire came out the shock, she let out a wide grin and reached her arms to embrace Gaia. Hey, Gaia tried to step back but her effort was wasted as Claire took her into her arms in a loving embrace. Oh shit, in the scene, the only person who seemed horrified and kept his distance from Gaia was Jack. Even when she was a mortal girl, she beat him on a regular basis, and now Jack couldn't even imagine what she would do to him. He cried inside and prayed to the gods, "Oh mighty God, please bless your child with enough strength to endure the beating he's going to receive." Michael chuckled inside seeing Jack praying looking at the sky. I'm so happy for you, Elia, we should celebrate this, Claire spoke while squeezing Gaia as she tried to wiggle herself out of the hug and threw a help-me glance at Michael. Why did you want to find me, sect leader Claire? Michael helped his friend by asking Claire. Oh yes, Claire seemed like she remembered something important and let go of Gaia. The Nether Realm is not opening next week, they are opening the gates today. What? Why? Gaia asked as Claire sighed. I think it's related to the recent Netheral attack in Rivertown. Summoning the Netherals may have weakened the layer between our world and the Nether Realm. However, it doesn't matter why. If you want to enter the Nether Realm, go to Sarton now. Then I guess I'm leaving now. Michael had good feelings about the Nether Realm and wanted to steal all of its riches. Girl, are you planning to enter the Nether Realm with him? Elder Reiner looked at Gaia and asked. Nah, he can have this one, considering the Nether Realm has security measures against people who were above the body refining stage. She didn't dare to try to enter the Nether Realm. The last time when someone tried to enter the Nether Realm hiding his body strengthening cultivation, he was turned into ashes the moment he stepped into the Nether Realm. Brother Ghost, watch out for the Broad River sect. They tend to pick a fight with our sect every time we enter the Nether Realm, one of the female disciples said and drew Michael's attention. Lena. Claire's shout immediately made the girl shut her mouth before she could say more. Are we forgetting who he is, sect leader Claire? Elder Reiner asked Claire and his words reminded her of Michael's position as guardian. Broad River sect, huh? They are from Sarton, right? What's their beef with you guys? Gaia curiously asked Claire. No reason, they just like to bully our disciples whenever they get a chance like everyone else. On Earth, people needed a reason to become enemies, but in this world, cultivators tend to follow the rule of the jungle, the strong prey on the weak. Michael understood the meaning of Claire's words. Since the Sunrise sect was weak, it became an easy target for everyone to bully, and this Broad River sect was just another bully on the block. Let's hope they will cross paths with me, Michael said with a calm face, but they could see the cold killing intent in his eyes. Killing them would be like hitting two birds with one stone for him, as he could earn experience points and declare to everyone that not to mess with his sect. Unlike before, Michael had a core formation level cultivator with him, therefore he didn't have to worry about killing them. Only the big sects like Golden Valley or Morning Star had core formation cultivators for the inner and core disciples, but in a normal sect, elders, or the sect leader would be the core formation level cultivator. Now that he had to leave the sect as soon as possible, there were still some things he should take care of. System, I need a pair of long-range earpiece, 1,000 badass coins, and you can talk to each other across realms. I will buy those and add a transmitter on one of them so I can keep track of Gaia. Sure thing, but it'll cost you another 500 badass points. Just take it and add her location to my environmental scanning. Compared to 500 badass points, her safety was more important to Michael. After what happened at the Phoenix Island, he didn't want to be in the dark again when she's in danger. Besides, he could use her help inside the Nether Realm because she told him that she entered it once. Also, if Jane tried to do something stupid again like sending assassins to kill him, he would be able to walk Gaia through what to do next. I'll go see Raylene before I leave. Elia, come with me. Yep, he nodded at Claire and Elder Reiner, and then, he gently grabbed Gaia's hand before activating the newly upgraded lighting dash for the first time. Whoosh! Literally in a flash, both of them disappeared from their sight. Before upgrading the lightning dash to level 2, one could see tiny blue bolts of lightning left behind after Michael disappeared, and now the blue bolts turned into gold ones. For Michael, he could feel his speed had almost tripled. Eek, my head spinning, brother ghost. Before even Gaia could steady herself, she heard little Cindy's voice and looked up to see the little girl throwing herself at Michael. Gaia couldn't understand why this little girl became so excited and happy every time she saw Michael, and he too seemed delighted to see her. There you are, Michael pecked on Cindy's soft cheeks and lifted her up. Soon after seeing Michael's sudden appearance, Raylene rushed out of her house, which was given to her by Claire. Master Ghost, Ricky said you went to Phoenix Island. Yeah, I did. Cindy, go play with your friends. Your mom and I have to talk alone. What about Sister Elia? Can I play with her? Cindy excitedly asked Michael. You can play with her later. Now go play with your friends. Michael placed the little girl down and received a loving kiss on his cheek from Cindy. Cindy then ran happily in the direction of her friends. Raylene, come with me. Hearing Michael, Raylene followed him and Elia into her house. It was time he made Raylene his subordinate. Even though the house was old and small, Raylene kept it clean and presentable. Gaia's nose twitched because of the delicious aroma in the air and suddenly felt hungry. Raylene, do you trust me? Michael asked with a serious face. The question surprised Raylene, but she took a deep breath and answered honestly, Master Ghost, you saved us and gave us a home when I and the children had nowhere to go. The food we are eating is yours. I have nothing to give it to you except my life if you ask for it. My life is yours. Without her control, Raylene's eyes became watery. Will you be my subordinate and serve me well? Yes, Gaia, surprised to see Raylene drop to her knees, asking no questions. Does the host wish to accept Raylene as a subordinate? Yes, subordinate. Raylene, cultivation level, race, human status, healthy trait, cook, loyalty towards the host, 97% right out of the bat. She was 97% loyal towards Michael, unlike a certain someone. He was happy to confirm her trait was indeed cook, and now he could turn her into a 5-star chef. While she was kneeling in front of him, he placed his hand on her head. I'm going to make you a 5-star chef and head chef of all my future restaurants and hotel chains. I will give you 30% of the profits and the resources for you and Cindy to cultivate. Serve me well. Raylene was speechless and almost fainted on the spot. System, make Raylene a 5-star chef. Right after this, Gaia saw a bright light emerge from Michael's hand and cover the body of Raylene for a few seconds as she closed her eyes. When the light disappeared, Raylene slowly opened her eyes and looked at Michael like she was looking at a god. System, I need the blueprint and the interior design of Ristorante La Sponda. He spent another 500 badass points and bought the blueprint and the interior design to transform the Lucky Cat Tavern into a stylish high-end restaurant. Here, put this in your ear. Michael then looked at Gaia and handed over the small earpiece to her. While she was staring and curiously fiddling around the earpiece, he took out the thin book that had the blueprint and the interior designs. Master Ghost Dash, show your gratitude and loyalty in your actions. Michael interrupted Raylene with a wave of his hand and said. Raylene was still in shock, but the tears of overwhelming joy gushing out of her eyes like water breaking out of a dam. I will, Master Ghost. It took several seconds for Raylene to wipe away her tears and exclaim. Michael just nodded with a smile and disappeared out of her sight with Gaia. I want our restaurant to look like this. You can make a few changes if you want. In a few seconds, Michael reached the border of the Sunrise sect and handed over the book to Gaia. Just don't die, all right? She punched him in the shoulder playfully. I'll try. Chapter 103, What is this thing? How can I still hear you? While Michael was on his way to Sarton, he heard Gaia's voice through his earbud. It's called earbuds. I can talk to you even after I entered the nether realm. Where did you get it? It's among the few things that mysterious light left me with. We can not only talk to each other through this, but also I can find you wherever you are. So you won't get your snaky ass kicked like at the Phoenix Island. You're not going to drop this, are you? She could tell he was enjoying teasing her. Nope. She proved the much-needed entertainment on his way to Sarton. Now that I think about it, I don't have to put up with your shit for 5 long days and am gonna enjoy every second of it, she sounded elated. Yet, he knew she's going to miss him. After running for half an hour, he began to see the outer walls of Sarton and carriages on his way. Inside the city walls, Michael could sense a fluctuation in arch energy and saw a crowd of people going towards the center of the city. Hey! What was that? Is that lightning? After a golden lightning bolt passed by them, people were stunned and they had no idea it was Michael who just ran past them. Michael's full focus was on the center of the city where he sensed the arch energy fluctuations, so he didn't stop by to look around his surroundings and enjoy the view in the daytime. The last time he came to Sarton, he came by the night to slaughter a group of criminals to spread the legend of Lucifer. At the moment in the center of Sarton, Noah was standing in there and waiting for the portal to the nether realm to open with his friends. Beside him, Abel was gawking around and looked extremely nervous. Calm down, Abel, Peyton said she will take care of it and we believe her, Norvin lazily lied on Noah's shoulder and said. Suddenly, 5 groups of people flew towards the crowd from different directions at a very fast speed. Many people who were in lower-level cultivation such as the body refining stage couldn't even catch a glimpse of their silhouettes, and even Noah and his group of geniuses barely caught a glimpse of their figures. They appeared above the sky within a split second. It was like they had made an appointment for a meeting as they had all appeared at exactly the same time. Their emergence quietened the crowd down at the scene. An intense aura was released from their bodies like a high tide wave in the sea, totally covering the sky. The people felt pressured by these auras that their souls shivered slightly, stirring up their sense of admiration for them. One group wore casual but noble clothes while the other 4 wore clothes that looked like uniforms. The silhouettes were Gerard Atkins of the Guardians Guild, Royce Camden of the Morning Star, Hazel Belmont of the Silver Moon, Edgar Godfrey of Aragoth, and Dean Byrne of the Golden Valley. If Michael was here he would recognize his one-night stand, Sadie Kaplan, who was standing behind Hazel Belmont, her teacher. Besides Sadie, there were also familiar faces of Evan, Victoria, and Selena among the people in the sky. Abel sighed when he noticed Peyton and Zanali behind Gerard Atkins, who was a dark-haired man with a sturdy body. Everyone's gaze fell upon them with burning eyes, especially those rogue cultivators and some disciples of minor powers. They were all excited to be able to see the legendary figures of Breedia and Elon in person. It wasn't something that they had even dreamt of, especially seeing the famous legendary guardian, Gerard Atkins. This matter was enough for them to boast in front of those who didn't have the chance to come when they returned. Edgar was wearing grayish armor on his sturdy body. After he arrived, one of the youngsters behind him murmured something in his ears, looking at Noah and his group immediately after he saw them. The youngster recognized Noah by his pure white clothes and the golden bobberoo on his shoulder. Who the heck is Noah Winstons, and how dare you kill one of my disciples? Edgar raged. A strong aura suddenly rushed out of his body, inciting fear among the crowd. After his sentence was finished, everyone both in the sky and land fixed their eyes on Noah. Gerard was the one who was surprised the most. Back when Peyton told him that she found the replacement for Ghost of the River Town, Noah was merely a body refining stage level 4 warrior. Within a short period of time, he had reached level 8, this kind of cultivation speed really startled him. Yet, even though he was surprised by Noah, he was the calmest of all. Gerard gave a nod of approval at Peyton for finding a genius for the trainee guardian position. Humph. Do you think you can kill my disciples and escape the wrath of Aragoth? Edgar made a cold humph. He launched an attack with his palm-like claw at Noah. Who wouldn't know how powerful a core strengthening stage level 10 was? The powerful aura he radiated was strong enough to immobilize Noah. To Edgar, he was a very rare genius, but he was an enemy now. He was as fragile as an ant in front of a core strengthening stage warrior and could be pinched to death easily. Swoosh. At the same time, another hand made of arch energy clashed with Edgar's and destroyed Edgar's spell. Edgar, he's a member of the Guardian Guild, you can't kill him as you like. Gerard was enraged. His relationship with Edgar hadn't been very good, and Noah was his responsibility. If he didn't stop Edgar from killing his subordinate, everyone would laugh him at for his cowardice. Gerard, you wish to start a war with me just because of a trainee? Edgar's face was solemn. What if I am? Gerard calmly asked him. Edgar, this is too shameful. The famous Aragoth sect is bullying a kid, Hazel laughed, not willing to let go of the chance to send an insult to Edgar. Edgar's expression changed, he made a cold humph and stopped his attempt to attack. To personally handle a body-refining stage cultivator by himself was really a shameful act. There were more than enough inner disciples who could get rid of him. Edgar gave the orders secretly using his telekinetic sense to his disciples. Listen, don't let me see this kid walk out of the nether realm alive. One youngster behind him nodded and bowed at Edgar after receiving the order. Meanwhile, Hazel flicked her wrist as numerous space rings appeared in the air and each of the rings floated towards a person. You can't use any space rings inside the nether realm except the one in front of you. Utility space carefully by taking what you really want, avoid fighting with each other and concentrate on getting the treasures for your cultivation. After Hazel, Royce Camden of Morningstar gave a piece of advice to all the youngsters. All right. No more delays. We should open the rift with no delays, Dean said after everyone grabbed the space rings. Right after that, the 5 masters came together and formed a portal on the ground connecting this world to the nether realm. We are finally going to enter the nether realm for an expedition. I have been expecting this for a long time. I must get something good when I enter. Many had started to feel nervous. This was the day that they had been waiting for. They have all been preparing for this big event to happen and would rush into it as soon as it was opened. Let's go, we are going in. Some had flown up wildly and rushed into the portal like there's no tomorrow. The entrance of the portal was enormous, big enough for them to enter in a large group like a swarm of wasps. The geniuses of the 3 big sects and disciples of Aragoth were also entering the portal excitedly. Meanwhile, Zanali and Peyton descended from the sky and landed near Noah and his group. Big brother, let's go in together. Maisie stood beside Noah. Who's this little girl? Peyton asked with a smile on her face. She could tell that there's a special relationship between the two. This is Maisie, my good foster sister. This is my friend, Abel. Noah introduced them to one another as Peyton seemed like she just realized something. She's the one you recommended us to recruit. Not bad at all. Peyton was slightly shocked to learn a 13-year-old little girl had reached the body refining stage level 5. She was a genius who could be compared to Noah or even Zanala's stepsister. Peyton, Zanali, this is Abel. He is also one of my good friends. We have faced life and death trials before. Noah patted Abel's shoulder while introducing him. Miss Peyton, Miss Zanali. Peyton put one palm on his chest and said with respect. Nice to meet you, Abel. Peyton and Zanali responded with a friendly smile. You should go. The others have already entered. You can't be left behind, Peyton said as Noah and Alicia nodded. Let's go. Right after that, he and his group rushed into the portal, but just as they were about to step into the portal, they halted their steps when they saw a flash of gold lighting bolt into the portal. Wow, what was that? Maisie and Abel did see nothing while Noah and Alicia barely caught a glimpse of a man in the flash of lightning. That was the guy who rejected our offer of joining the Guardian Guild in the first place. Ghost. Noah and his group were stunned for a moment. They wanted to probe into this matter, but Gerard's sudden appearance pulled their attention more. Guardian Captain, Peyton and Zanali immediately lowered their heads and bowed with the utmost respect towards Gerard while the others awkwardly lowered their heads. I have an important task for all of you in the Nether Realm. Chapter 104. After staying for 1.5 hours in the portal, Michael finally saw a light at the end of the tunnel. I think I'm here. Seeing this, Michael's spirit rose. Remember to take shelter in the abandoned buildings at night, he heard Gaia's serious voice through the earpiece and agreed in his mind. According to Gaia, powerful netherals such as core formation and even core strengthening stage netherals would come out of their hiding place at night. Therefore, roaming outside at night in the nether realm with their body refining stage cultivation level was nothing but suicide. I'll take shelter at night, he said and reassured her. After a few seconds, the light at the end of the portal became brighter, and soon after, he finally arrived at the end of the tunnel. Swoosh! Michael felt a tremendous gust of force from behind and in a flash, he was falling from the sky. Fortunately, He didn't fall from too high as he landed on the ground comfortably, breaking none of his bones. After leaving the portal, he heard the excited cries of people. He was standing on a vast grassland and the sight slightly surprised him. When he first mentioned the Nether Realm, he imagined it to be a desolate place with ashes in the air and streams of lava on the ground. Yet, the place before him seemed like a perfect place for a picnic with friends. "Let's go towards the ends of this plain field, I'm sure we'll find some treasures there." At the moment, someone said and ran past Michael. Soon, more than 100 warriors were scattered around in different locations, and all of them were rushing toward the end of this plain field at the same time. Lightning dash, a few minutes, Michael overtook them and reached the end of the plain field before anyone else could. A white fog suddenly emerged in front of him, and when people came closer to the fog, they discovered there were 7 paths in front of them. Each path had appeared out of nowhere, and they looked illusionary, and none of them seemed to be real. How come there are so many paths? How are we going to choose which to take? We must be extra careful. Although this place seems harmless, I'm sure it's filled with great dangers. Some paths must lead to real treasures, and some must lead to great dangers. Precisely. Let's wait and see. It's best not to be too impulsive. If we enter some dangerous situation, our lives would be thrown away in vain. The crowds immediately stopped moving. Everyone stared at the fork in the road, the 7 paths in front of them. They did not know which path they should choose. When there was a great opportunity, the great danger would usually lurk nearby. No one wanted to risk their lives for nothing. Therefore, they had to be really careful when picking which path they should take. White fog hovered around all 7 paths and made it even more difficult to choose the right path. Everything seemed quiet and calm, but the crowds felt an eerie feeling as they looked at the 7 paths and the white fog. "Hey, there are 7 paths in front of me, which one should I choose?" He asked Gaia, and he also directed the question to the system. "Choose one randomly and go." That's what I did. The system level is too low to scan the paths. Unfortunately, both Gaia and the system were unable to help Michael choose a better path, so he decided to choose a path randomly. While the others were hesitating to step forward, Michael chose the 3rd path from his right and began to walk the path. Tap, tap, the path he chose was really quiet, and silence filled his journey. The only sound he could hear was the sound of his footsteps. He walked the path with a solemn expression, trying to be as careful as possible. He was glad that he bought the environmental scanning that's helping him be aware of the surroundings. "What's happening?" Gaia asked him. "There are cracks everywhere on this path, and it's emanating an ancient aura. I wonder how many years it has existed. It's really giving me a spooky feeling." He furrowed his brows. "Just be careful and ready for a fight. You don't know when a netheril would jump out of the fog and drink your blood." She tried to scare him with her spooky voice, but it only made him chuckle. Yet his instincts told him that this path wouldn't be as peaceful as it seemed. He walked forwards for nearly an hour at a consistent speed. Suddenly, he heard a miserable shriek sound out not far in front of them, and his environmental scanning alerted him that there were hostile enemies in front of him a few meters away from him. The shriek sounded really spooky, as if it came from an inhuman creature. He sped up, and shortly after, he saw a man motionlessly lying in a pool of blood about 20 meters in front of them. It was a shocking scene. The man's throat had completely ripped off and blood flowed out from the neck. "It seems he entered this path before me," he said, and weirdly, instead of worrying, a grin appeared on his face and his eyes lit up. "Finally some action and XP." Michael suddenly shouted out. With extremely fast speed, he unsheathed his sword and swung the sword around. Eek! A loud shrill was heard. Michael's sword had cut something. Ding! Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage, level 8 netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. After he heard the system, he found a dark goo splatter and soon found a netheril human lying on the ground in his own pool of dark goo. "What is it?" Gaia asked curiously. "Just a body strengthening stage netheril. After reaching level 10 of the body refining stage, killing this netheril felt like stepping on an ant. The netheril was too weak and didn't even have time to dodge Michael's sword slash. There are more of them here. An evil grin surfaced on his face before golden bolts of lightning cracks began to dance around his fingers. Zzzzch. 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 Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 8 Netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points, ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 7 Netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points, ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 8 Netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points, ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 6 Netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points, ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage, level 7 Netheril. The reward is 7,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. Michael just kept walking the path while sending bots of lightning into the fog in all directions. With the help of his environmental scanning, every lightning bolt he fired killed a Netheril or two. The people who were walking the same path as Michael saw golden flashes of light through the white fog and heard loud shrills. They are so weak, why are you being so proud? If I was there, I could have killed them with a flick of my wrist, the proud and arrogant voice of Gaia sounded in his head. You better finish all your tasks when I return, Gaia, or I'll take away your breakfast, second breakfast, and night snacks. Are you blackmailing this princess, you damn bastard? Yes, I am. During the next 2 hours, he continued walking this path, and it was as if there was no end to it. Along his way, he continued to kill the Netherils, and with their weak strength and environmental scanning, no matter how good a Netheril hit itself, it would still die. Along the way, he had killed more than 100 Netherils and earned enough experience points to reach the body-strengthening stage. But soon, the following situation made him lose the smile on his face because the Netherils that continuously attacked him didn't appear once more. The path had suddenly become extremely quiet. Then after a few minutes of walking, the path had finally ended. The white fog hovering around him also disappeared. Michael continued moving forward with a sad face because of the disappearance of the Netherils. In the blink of an eye, he left the path and arrived at the mountain range. This mountain range covered 60 kilometers in all directions, but there wasn't a single plant on site. Have you left the path? Buzz. Right after Gaia finished speaking, Michael's lips curved upwards as hundreds of stone Netherils suddenly appeared within the mountain range. They instantly started sprinting toward Michael, so many Netherils. Those Netherils aren't that strong, just fly above them. Hearing Michael's voice, she suggested flying above the Netherils to avoid being annoyed by the weak Netherils. However, in his eyes, these Netherils appeared to be experience farms which could make him jump from body strengthening stage level 1 to level 3 and also increase his sword mastery to 85%. I love Nether Realm. Chapter 105. Right at this moment, a group of youngsters was walking the path quietly. Although their journey was uneventful, their eyes were filled with terror because their path was painted with dark goo, Netheril limbs, and body parts. Who did this? A girl in the group asked while tightly clenching her sword. The boy who was leading the group shushed the girl as they began to hear loud shrieks in the air. Oh my god, Netherils! The boys in the group swallowed their saliva and the girls moved closer to each other in fear. Guys, I think the Netherils are fighting. The group walked this path before us, the boy who was leading the group said and prepared himself for an intense fight with the Netherils. Come on guys, we have to help them. Dennis, wait. The group behind him however didn't want to fight the Netherils and tried to stop him from moving forward. Guys, don't be stupid, we cannot turn back after coming all this way. The fight is inevitable, let's join the fight with that group and fight together. Despite their fear of fighting the flesh-eating Netherils, they could see the point of joining another group and fight the Netherils together rather than facing them alone. There's strength in numbers guys, come on, Dennis urged them and advanced to join the fight. His group soon followed him behind through the mist and after a few minutes, the white mist around them disappeared. They continued to move forward in the battle's direction sound. The sounds of the shrieks sounded louder as the group halted their steps for a moment and took deep breaths. Are you guys ready? Dennis could see the battle is happening just around the corner and wanted to make sure his group is ready to face the Netherals. Yes, they knew it's too late to turn back and wanted to face the Netherals with courage and valor. Good, Dennis nodded and turned back, for glory. For honor. For Westview. The group dashed forward letting out high-pitched battle cries, however, their battle cries were cut short by the sight in front of them. Though the terrain was covered with grayish pebbles and ashen soil, the ground wasn't clear gray but blackish-crimson color. Their eyes were fixed on the Netherals before them, yet they lowered their weapons subconsciously. In front of them, they saw a mound of Netherals. They stood still staring at the golden bolt of lightning moving around the Netherals. Everywhere the golden lightning bolt traveled, they could see a Netheral fall, losing either its head or half of its body or both. Soon, the mound grew bigger by one or more inanimate Netheral. This scene continued for another 10 minutes and the mound of Netherals grew bigger and bigger. The group stood there with their mouths opened as they witnessed a mob of Netherals being reduced to zero in a short amount of time. The very next moment after killing the last Netheral, they saw the golden bolt of lightning slowing down transform into a black-robed youngster. Dennis and his group were stunned beyond words when they realized that all the Netherals were killed by not a group but a single person. My sword broke. Michael lifted one of his swords and shook the sword as a chunk of the blade fell off from the sword. He picked up the chunk of the blade and put it inside his space ring along with the broken sword. Since these were his first swords, they had sentimental value for him. Let's burn these suckers. Michael walked towards the mound of Netherals and on his way, he saw the terrified faces of Dennis and his group. Hey, he waved shortly at Dennis and his group and took out a can to burn all the Netherals. Oh. Hi. It took several seconds for Dennis to respond, but Michael was busy pouring the green liquid on the Netherals. What is he doing? A girl behind Dennis asked him. Ignitia. The girl's question was soon answered by Michael as a tiny bolt of lightning hit the mound of Netherals. Instantly, the mound was on fire and they all closed their noses due to the stench radiated from the burning Netherals. Soon, the mound was reduced to nothing but ashes. They saw him gathering all the ashes into a large bottle and storing it in his space ring. They had no idea why he collected the Netheral ashes. Unlike the Netherals he killed in the river town, these Netherals had a special property in their body and it made their ashes one of the best fertilizers for his herbal garden. Besides this ash, he earned enough experience points to reach the body strengthening stage level 3 through killing the Netherals and absorbing their cores. He kept a bunch of cores for the elders and Claire so they could also reach the higher stages. The stronger his base of operation, the more badass points he could earn. After collecting the ashes, he turned around and disappeared from their sight in a flash, leaving them dumbstruck. Did you kill them all? After leaving the battleground, Michael heard Gaia's voice. What do you think? Move your ass faster, human, or you would lose the real treasures, she yelled at him as Michael said. Did you forget about my war god body? The more I kill, the stronger I would become. Freaky, but I wish I could cultivate like you, Gaia sighed. Don't worry, it'll help you cultivate faster, you better. She didn't feel ashamed of asking for his assistance, but on the contrary, she felt thrilled. While chit-chatting with Gaia, he exited the mountain range, and right before he left the mountain range, a white fog suddenly appeared in front of him again. The white mist prevented him from looking further into the distance. At the same time, he felt a cooling sensation. I sense no Netherals within the white fog in front of me. Once I cross this white fog, I might enter another mountain range. Michael said with an excited smile. Thinking about another experience farm, he began to walk forward. Soon after, he passed through the white fog. Yet, unlike his expectation, what was in front of him after passing the white mist was a great plain with a bright sky. But, what attracted him wasn't this beautiful scene, it was the huge garden that was floating high above them in the sky. Is that a garden? Wasting no time, he stepped on the flying sword and dashed towards the garden. Right at this moment, figures of warriors could be seen lingering around the garden. All of them had the same excited expressions, and some of them had even started fighting each other. Furthermore, more people were dashing out from different directions. When these people saw the garden in the sky, they immediately flew toward it. Michael knew that these people were from the other paths, and there were more people on those paths than the one he chose. But none of this was important. The important thing was, the temptation caused by the garden in the sky was really powerful. Even from far, he could smell the refreshing air coming from it, as well as a strong smell of herbs. The smell of herbs caused all those who smelled it to feel relaxed and refreshed. Move. I found this cavern petal. Fuck you, I found this. What is that? An oglio root? Damn. Look at that. That is the diamond leaf. An extremely rare herb in the outside world. Oh heavens, there are rare herbs everywhere. This entire garden is a gigantic treasure. Everyone arrived at the garden in the sky and were excitedly yelling and shouting. This was because they kept finding rare herbs so rare there was no way they could see them in the outside world. Precious treasures. There are indeed precious treasures here. Fuck, this garden is at least 7 kilometers long in all directions. There are herbs everywhere, and many of them look really old. If this garden was in our world, all superpowers would fight to the death for it. Swoosh, swoosh. More and more people arrived and dashed toward the garden. After the first batch of youngsters came to the Nether Realm, more and more warriors came from all over. As long as they survived the Netheril attack, many youngsters had the chance to come here and seek an opportunity. Michael had noticed all these warriors as well. Some of them were clearly injured, and it looked like they had experienced a dangerous situation back on the paths they had chosen. However, it seemed like the danger they faced was less devastating compared to Michael's. Also, there were some paths where no one emerged from. Clearly, those who stepped onto those paths had encountered great dangers, and perhaps they wouldn't even be able to leave that place. As for those warriors who didn't encounter any dangers, they had long ago emerged from the path and were hanging around in the sky garden right now. Who knew how many benefits they had gotten so far? It took Michael several hours to reach this garden. Regardless of which path the people emerged from, they were faced with the biggest opportunity in their lifetime. This garden in the sky by itself was a gigantic treasure. Each and every single herb here would provide significant benefits to those who obtain it. Looking at all these herbs, Michael couldn't hold his excitement as a wide grin appeared on his face. Let's begin. Chapter 106. The eyes of the people turned red, and everyone was excitedly yelling and shouting. This tiger cress belongs to me. A youngster joyfully started laughing. He stretched his arm forward and tried to grab the herb. However, right before his palm could touch the herb, a light curtain suddenly appeared and stopped his hand. At the same time, he was forced 3 steps backward. Idiot, all these herbs are protected by a defense mechanism. You won't be able to put your hands on them without breaking the mechanism first. All these newcomers are just idiots. Some people started laughing. Those who had arrived here first had discovered how it works. This is strange, why are all these herbs protected by defense mechanisms? One of the youngsters near Michael glared at the herbs and wondered. Without it, do you think there would still be so many herbs here? Not to mention this is only a garden with a 7-kilometer circumference. Even a 70-kilometer circumference garden would be emptied in an instant if there were no defense mechanism. Every single herb here is protected by a defense mechanism, meaning we have to break the mechanism before we can get the herb. Also, according to the rarity of the herb, how many years it has grown, and its value, the strength of the defense mechanism will be different as well. For the herbs with a higher value than others and who are also old, their defense mechanisms will be more difficult to break. Michael heard someone explain how the mechanism works to the youngster who raised the previous question. Indeed, Michael both saw many warriors restlessly working to break the defense mechanisms of those high-value herbs. One of the warriors stood in front of a diamond leaf, and his face had turned red. No matter how much strength he used, he just couldn't break its defense mechanism. Although everyone's eyes were on the rare and oldest herbs like tiger cress, Michael's eyes were on the other herbs that did not attract as many eyes as the tiger cress. Why is the host not fighting for the tiger cress? When the system realized that Michael is not walking towards tiger cress or any other precious herbs, the system asked in a curious voice. Because I didn't want to lose the chance of getting all these herbs fighting for one thing, as he said, he came before a herb called wolf pepper and reached out to grab the herb. 100 badass points to break the defense mechanism. A golden dome appeared around the herb, and at the same time, he heard the system's voice in his head. 100 for wolf pepper. Sigh, he sighed and paid 100 badass points to break the shield to acquire the herb. Right after he paid the system, the golden dome dimmed and disappeared. Michael grabbed the herb while everyone was focused on tiger cress and moved to the next one. The herbal garden had hundreds of rare herbs, but only a few of them had extremely tough defense mechanisms and attracted the most eyes. Also, the people in the garden had already begun fighting for these rare herbs, ignoring the herbs that were less rare than herbs like tiger cress. Michael exploited this situation and grabbed all the herbs he could without attracting the eyes of the cultivators. The other reason Michael decided to go after these herbs was the rare herbs had people from powerful sects and families fighting for. The host should really hunt for more rare and precious herbs, and start a fight with most of the major powers in the continent? No, thanks. Besides, I know what I'm doing. As a 5-star level alchemist, he knew everything there is to know about the surrounding herbs. For a normal cultivator, the tiger cress would help him, her breakthrough from the body refining stage to the body strengthening stage in one go after consuming the pill concocted using the tiger cress as the main ingredient. However, for Michael, who uses experience points and badass points, herbs like tiger cress didn't matter too much. Also, these herbs would only have desirable medicinal quality if they matured for more than 1,000 years, and if not, their medicinal quality and worth would be subpar at best. Although Michael had the system, he still couldn't fast forward the time and grow a bunch of 1,000-year-old tiger cresses. Michael's sole intention was to get as many as the herbs he could and grow them in his herbal garden to make more varieties of pills and potions without making too many powerful enemies in the process. The herbs he was collecting could be easily grown in his herbal garden and didn't need to mature for 1,000 years to get the most out of them. Nachiabaka, Sattar, Yadath, Koniaspi, Yugon, autumn licorice, swamp leaf, star cumin, moon oregano, mountain vanilla. While recalling the herbs he collected, he continued to collect more and more herbs. Because of the size of the garden and Michael's quick work on the defense mechanisms, many did not even notice him as they were busy trying to break the defense mechanisms on their own. The system urged Michael to steal precious herbs like tiger cress, hoping to make him piss off many powerful people so it could reap the badass points from him by helping him in battle. He did the opposite of the system's intention and didn't fight with anyone. Yet, it was not true for others, as he could see intense battles all over the garden for rare herbs like tiger cress or diamond leaf. Is that who I think it is? Yes, it's that ghost who won Heaven's Gate competition, and he's also a 5-star alchemist. Fuck. He looks younger than me. Why isn't he fighting for those rarest herbs? Many people who were from Bradford and Rivertown instantly recognized Michael and started chit-chatting. They all wondered why he was not fighting for the rarest herbs but picking the ordinary herbs. Because of the rarest herbs, these people had forgotten that the herbs Michael was picking only became ordinary when they were compared to the rarest herbs. In the search for the rarest herbs, they were losing the chance of obtaining these ordinary herbs. My herbal garden is going to be awesome. The more herbs he picked, the more he felt excited. He continued to avoid battles and collect herbs. Although the garden was massive, with the help of Lightning Dash, he covered a lot of ground and obtained hundreds of herbs. While he was obtaining these herbs, he also avoided many groups who were fighting for some herbs because the garden was so big and had thousands of herbs. There was no need for fighting. Michael's goal inside the Nether Realm was to collect as many treasures as he can without making too many enemies. He liked to grow stronger in shadows and only show his power when necessary until he became stronger than everyone else in this world. Now it's time for some money making. Oh, sounds fun. He grinned hearing Gaia's excited voice and walked towards the tiger cress where a large group of people was fighting over it. Tiger cress belongs to Morning Star. We found it first. I don't see you or your sex name on the tiger cress. The tiger cress belongs to whoever breaks this defense mechanism. Yes, that's fair. All the major powers like Aragoth, the 3 big sects, and many prominent families in Elon continent were arguing over the tiger cress. I can break this defense mechanism. Suddenly the atmosphere became silent after Michael's voice reverberated the area. Everyone in the place turned their head and saw a black-robed youngster walking towards them with a small grin on his face. Who do you think you are? What makes you think you can break this defense mechanism? He's just an attention seeker. None of them thought Michael could break the defense mechanism and return to bitch about how to get their hands on the herb. You can stand here all day trying to break the spell or let me do it for you. Michael spoke again, but this time, his voice was louder and serious. Humph, do you really think you can break this mechanism? A disciple from Aragoth asked arrogantly. Let's assume you can break this mechanism. Aren't you going to claim ownership of the herb? What if you can't break the mechanism as you said? They fired question after question at Michael as he just stood there with a smile. I know I can break the mechanism, and as for the ownership, I will sell the herb to the highest bidder. I will say this again, you can stand here all day trying to break the spell or let me do it for you. Whoever has the most gold coins will get the herb. Everyone stared at the tiger cress and Michael for a few moments before the arrogant youngster from Aragoth spoke. All right, if you can do what you have said, you'll be richer when we return to the outside world. Michael knew this youngster was making a threat, but he didn't mind his tone because he's going to break this defense mechanism with the help of the system. Step aside, people, it's time to crack this baby open. Chapter 107. Many people, including the ones who were trying to break the defense mechanism, dropped what they were doing and quickly gathered around Michael and the tiger cress. Some of them wanted to see whether or not Michael could break the mechanism. Some of them wanted to witness the entertainment of Michael getting his ass kicked in case he couldn't break the mechanism. Michael noticed all the various expressions and thinking about the badass points he's going to get, he turned his focus on the tiger claw-shaped fruit before him. System, break this baby open. You have to pay the system 500 badass points. Michael's expression was neutral, but inside, he was cursing the system for its arrogant tone. Take it and break it, he said to the system inside. Following his command, he closed his eyes and pretended to be drawing shapes above the herb. What is he doing? He better breaks this defense mechanism. Is that Ghost of Rivertown? Ghost? The 5-star alchemist? Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 100 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 100 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. People who went to the Majestic or from Rivertown recognized Michael when they saw him, and by hearing those people, many realized that the youngster in front of him was the famous 5-star alchemist of Breedia. Because of this recognition, he accumulated thousands of badass points in a flash without even actually breaking the mechanism or doing anything awesome. So he's that 5-star alchemist everyone was talking about. There was a hint of surprise in the eyes of the disciples of Aragoth, including the one who talked to Michael before. Creak. Right at this moment, the surprise in everyone's eyes turned into shock as they saw cracks appear on the golden dome's surface around the tiger cress. What the fuck? The heck? How did he? What? How? Many of the people were speechless as the number of cracks on the dome multiplied before shattering into bits of golden light. While everyone was in shock, Michael grabbed the herb in one hand and conjured his alchemical flames on the other. What are you doing? Don't. The disciples of Aragoth were the first to respond as Michael said, as I said before, you have to pay me for this herb. If anyone tries to do anything funny, I will burn this tiger crest to ashes. By looking at the green flames in his hand and the seriousness in his eyes, they knew he wasn't kidding. After a few moments, the youngster from Aragoth stepped forward, and this time, he wasn't as arrogant as before. We will honor our word. Aragoth will pay you 200,000 gold coins for this tiger crest. Morningstar will give you 300,000, 350,000. Without even Michael stating the starting bid, the bidding war began between the rich youngsters. Golden Valley, 450,000, 550,000 gold coins, 600,000, 700,000 gold coins, plus we will hire you as our alchemist and pay you handsomely. Finally, the youngster from Aragoth raised his voice and placed his bid, and also, he sweetened the pot by making another offer. Sold. Before even the disciples of Morning Star could place the next bet, Michael sold the tiger crest to Aragoth. The Morning Star sect, and he didn't have a smooth relationship because of his enmity between him and Selena. Moreover, he would prefer to be on the good side of Aragoth's rather than on Morningstar's. After knowing the history between the Order of Death and the Guardians, Michael realized that he would need powerful people with him to fight a giant power like the Guardian Guild. Unlike Noah, who antagonized many powers in Breedia, Michael preferred to work in shadows while making fewer enemies as possible. Then, with the help of the system and his planning, he would become stronger and build a faction strong enough to subdue all the sects and the major powers. In his path of world domination, he planned to make Aragoth his first ally through working with this youngster. Here you go. Michael tossed the herb at the youngster and then, he reached out his hand. Ghost, happy to help Aragoth. Nathan Bradley of House Bradley. The youngster shook Michael's hand after giving a thought. Human, what the fuck is going on there? You sold what? Ignoring Gaia's frustrated shoutings in his ears, he smiled back at Nathan and shook his hand before turning his gaze towards the diamond leaf, which was another precious and rare herb in the garden. Why don't you give me one? 8 million gold coins for diamond leaf, oglio root, and cavern petal? Michael asked Nathan with a wide grin while others looked at him with vexed faces. 1 million, and the alchemy product supply contract for the outer disciples section of Aragoth is yours. If you can handle it, that is, deal. Compared to the 800,000 gold coins, what Nathan promised was valuable and helpful to Michael because by supplying potions and pills to Aragoth, he could earn 800,000 gold coins or more in a few months. Therefore, Michael agreed to this deal immediately and bore a wide grin on his face. Hey, I thought you're going to auction the herbs, not sell them to only Aragoth. These are not your herbs to sell. This is not fair. Because of Michael's sudden change of mind and his actions, many were riled up and began to express their objection. Life is not fair. The smile on Michael's face disappeared and a serious look replaced his previous smile as everyone who tried to bad-mouth him instantly shut their traps. Now that we made the deal, let's go get you all the herbs I promised. Michael gestured to the disciples of Aragoth to follow him to the diamond leaf. Since many have tried to break the defense mechanism and ultimately failed to do so, they could only follow and watch Aragoth get their hands on every precious herb through Michael. Where did you learn to break defense spells? While they were approaching the diamond leaf, Nathan curiously asked Michael. I traveled a lot and picked up a few tricks along the way. Fortunately, Nathan didn't ask him to reveal or teach them the tricks. Just like its name, each leaf of diamond leaf herb glistened like a diamond. After consuming a pill or potion made using a diamond leaf, one can experience a sudden boost in their cultivation speed for an entire month or more depending on the alchemist's skill without polluting their body. Beat it. Noticing the few youngsters struggling with the defense mechanism, Nathan chased them away with the wave of his hand. Because of the sword symbol on Nathan's chest, they didn't dare to disobey his words as they sighed and ran away before glancing at the diamond leaf for one last time. You're a 5-star alchemist and you also seem to possess a talent for runes, so why did you join a sect like Sunrise? Nathan didn't even try to hide the disdain as he asked Michael. It's simple, if I'm a disciple of Aragoth, I'm just another talented disciple. But in Sunrise, I'm the only one and I can do whatever I like whenever I like, Michael answered with a smile and continued, I value my freedom above anything. That's why I turned down the Guardian Guild when they asked me to join as their trainee or whatever. Again, Nathan was taken aback by surprise and shock as he stared at Michael speechlessly for a few seconds. You did what? The others behind Nathan also felt a chill running through their spines because being a guardian was the highest honor in this world, yet he turned down that honor and merit. I said that I'm not interested to Peyton. Why? Until now, Nathan bore a proud and arrogant look on his face, but after hearing what he just said, his face showed only one expression, confusion. As I said, I value my freedom above anything. I don't enjoy following orders and being a good soldier. I heard someone from Aragoth tried to join the Guardians. Michael changed the topic to something else before Nathan asks too many questions about his actions. Like Michael wanted, when he asked this question, Nathan's expression changed drastically. Yes, his name is Loden Akkelson. He was brutally killed by that Noah and his lackey in the Red Summit. Aragoth will avenge Loden by killing both of them. Good luck with that, Michael snickered inside because he had a feeling that Noah is not only being protected by guardians but also something or someone else. However, the more enemies Noah makes, the more allies Michael could have in the fight against him and the Guardian Guild in the future. For now, Michael focused his efforts on becoming stronger and rebuilding the Order of Death in silence rather than provoking all the major powers like Noah. As they were speaking, the system broke the defense mechanism around the diamond leaf, leaving everyone to think that Michael broke the mechanism. Here you go, Michael handed over the herb to Nathan and turned his gaze towards another herb. After taking the diamond leaf, Michael fastened his work before the nightfall approaches. He was able to see the people leaving the garden hastily. Looking at their actions, he realized that nightfall in the Nether Realm is not a joke and left the garden after setting the meeting place with Nathan to get the coins. This trip to the garden alone was worthy of his time as he gathered hundreds of herbs and earned a contract to supply pills and potions to one of the best sects in the continent, Aragoth. He couldn't wait to tell Gaia about all of this and surprise her. Chapter 108 Just as Michael was dashing towards a small cave, a bunch of Netherals was feasting on a group of youngsters in the distance. Their shrieks sent a chill running through many spines who saw this scene. Michael ignored this and dashed straight into the cave, wasting no time. However, before he completely dashes into the cave, he saw a familiar ice spike penetrating through the Netherals, saving some of the youngsters from being the appetizer for the Netherals. The cave was small and had just enough room for him. Yet, this small cave was a sanctuary and a calm place to stay safe. Michael sat on the ground, and because of his full black clothes, he merged with the cave's darkness and one could not see him in the cave. This is mine. When he was just about to open the system's storage and count the herbs he collected, he saw a rogue cultivator rushing towards the cave. Leave, Michael calmly said as the cultivator halted his steps suddenly and looked closely into the cave. Yet, instead of turning his back and leaving the cave, the cultivator decided to step in and chase the previous occupant, Michael. Wind blast, whoosh. The moment he took another step towards Michael, a gust of wind sent the cultivator flung back like a kite without an anchor. Who the fuck dared to attack me? The cultivator, who was attacked, forgot about the approaching nightfall in anger and rushed towards the cave after picking himself up. Ghost, however, this time when the cultivator heard the voice from the cave, he felt a cold chill running through his spine. He then immediately lowered his sword and stood there shivering in fear. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 100 badass points, ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points, ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points, ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Forgive me, Master Ghost, I didn't know it was you. Don't kill me. Michael was surprised to see the cultivator dropping to his knees and starting to beg. He didn't expect a rogue cultivator like him to know his name. He just told his name so someone from the river town or someone who knows him would recognize the name and stay out of the cave as well as want the others. However, this rogue cultivator recognized his name and even went to the lengths to beg, made Michael pleased because finally, his legend has started to spread across the land. Leave, he hid his joy and said with a serious voice. Thank you, Master Ghost. The rogue cultivator groveled and ran as fast as he could from Michael's sight. It feels so great to be feared at, he thought to himself, and deep down, he craved for this feeling. Ever since he was little, he didn't root for heroes but rooted for the villains. This did not change even after he grew up. For example, his favorite characters were Sauron and Voldemort. His love for villains influenced him more than he realizes. Does the host fear Aragoth? Suddenly the system asked and surprised him. Why do you ask? He switched off the earpiece and asked the system. Because you could have taken all the herbs for yourself and showed that you're the boss, but instead, you gave all the precious herbs to Nathan and lost the chance of earning badass points, and also few powerful enemies. I'm not that guy Noah, system. I know what you're trying to do, you want me to make more enemies and buy things from you to survive them. I don't know what you are and what your end game is, but you should have known this by now. I'm not suicidal and you cannot make me do anything unless I want to, he calmly explained. The system stayed silent because it knew Michael isn't easy to manipulate as it first thought. Now that the system stayed silent, he was able to count the herbs and plan his next movements. Deep down, he was glad that Noah and his group did not come to the garden, and even though he wasn't afraid of Noah, he wanted to avoid the fight until he could gather enough information about Noah and the power behind him. Jush! What the? In a flash, the light outside disappeared like someone switched off the lights of the nether realm. There was no dusk as it turned dark without a sign. When I was young my friend had an accord. I was kicked out without a record. I never thought I'd see that award. Ain't a soul alive that could take my friend's board. A cruel power is quite the shower. Thinking of death. Yaz, thinking of death, when he switched on the earpiece, he was welcomed by Gaia's rap. I don't know who wrote this song but I guess it's you, Michael laughed, and the moment she heard his voice, she stopped rapping. Where the fuck did you go? She was annoyed when he went radio silent, and he listened to her singing made her feel even more annoyed. You did the right thing. A contract with Aragoth is more valuable than those herbs. After he explained what he did in the garden, Gaia agreed with him and supported his decision. Just when he was about to reply, the environmental scanning detected a hostile activity nearby. Hello, is this thing broken again? KRK, stop biting the earpiece. I'm sensing a Netheril horde nearby. Is that normal in Netherrealm? Netheril horde? Weird. By hearing her tone, he could tell that it is not normal. He wanted to check what's going on outside, but at the same time, he didn't want to get killed because of his curiosity. They are marching towards somewhere, like soldiers. If the Netherils were moving chaotically, Michael would have felt this curious. They were marching towards somewhere like trained soldiers. Are you sure? Because the Netheril horde is not capable of marching like soldiers, said Gaia. For 1000 badass points, the system can mask your scent and project you from getting detected by the Netherils. While he was stuck between curiosity and safety, he heard the system's voice. That's more like it. When it comes to situations like this, the system had perfect solutions. Considering he had no solution of his own, he decided to get whatever the system is selling, so he could check out where the Netherils are heading. Just after 1000 badass points disappeared from the stat menu, he felt a strange sensation in his body. The host is now ready to explore the Nether realm without fearing the Netherils. I have a way to find out what's going on here, he said, and stood up to leave the cave, taking advantage of the darkness. Of course you do, you freak. I'm masking my scent using a special potion. Gaia believed him because she knew that the mysterious light and Abra's soul blessed him with ancient knowledge which enables Michael to perform miracles like this one. He slowly stepped forward while checking whether anyone near him, and after confirming that no one would see him leave the cave, he left the cave. He didn't use the lightning dash as it might draw some unwanted attention, and because of his black clothes, he perfectly merged with the darkness and disappeared. While heading towards the Netheril horde, he couldn't see the garden in the sky. It made him realize that after nightfall, the places which had treasures may not appear for him to loot. However, the purpose of this night visit was not looting but to unveil the mystery behind the marching Netheril horde. There they are. After walking in the direction of the Netheril horde, Michael saw hundreds of Netherils marching towards somewhere. Fortunately, what the system did worked, and none of the Netherils in the horde could detect him following them. What's happening there? Gaia asked in a husky voice. I will keep you posted. Now stay silent, he said, and continued to follow the Netherils. Eventually, the Netherils entered into a thick forest, but the uneven ground and obstacles were unable to slow down their marching speed. After entering the forest, Michael climbed up the trees and followed them by jumping from branch to branch using the Mark III grapple hook. And because of this height advantage, he noticed a bonfire at the distance. I bet these Netherils are heading towards there. Slightly increasing his speed, Michael moved towards the bonfire, but he was cautious not to make any sounds that could bring him unwanted attention. Ikasen wasnins kawanks mikstil sees Nifin. As he got closer to the bonfire, he began to hear someone chanting something in an unknown language. Is that an orc? When he got close enough, he saw a figure standing in front of a bonfire and sculptures made of bones. The figure looked just like one of the orcs from the movie Lord of the Rings, ugly and evil. This is getting more and more interesting. Chapter 109, An Orc with a Summoner Trait. Standing atop a branch, Michael scanned the orc and identified its trait. The orc wore ragged robes and the robes had mud and bloodstains on them. While the Netheril horde was walking towards the orc, Michael kept looking around the place to see if there's anything or anyone stronger than him nearby. The orc was only at the body refining stage level 9 and the strongest Netherils were only at the level body strengthening stage level 5. If he fought as Lucifer, no one in the body strengthening stage could survive the battle with him, and if he fought without using fear toxin or death range, only body strengthening stage level 9 and 10 could fight him head to head. However, now that he had enough experience points to reach the body strengthening stage level 3, no one in the body strengthening stage could win a fight against him after he reaches the body strengthening stage level 3. As he was watching the orc from above, he saw a small journal in the orc's hands and realized the orc is chanting the lines in the journal. "Come my children, kneel before me." The orc's voice was rough and animalistic, just like in the movies. To Michael's surprise, the entire horde of Netherils kneeled down. "I did it. Ha 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 ha." The orc's mad laughter echoed through the silent hills and forest. In its eyes, Michael saw pride as well as anger. "Father, brother, I'll avenge you. Soon, I'll plague the world with undead and kill every single one in the Guardian Guild." This day gets better and better. Seeing the orc could summon and control the Netherils, Michael already planned to start a Netheril farm, and hearing that the orc has a hatred towards the Guardians was like a cherry on top. "System, can we take this orc outside without getting detected by the Guardians?" By looking at the wounds on its body and what it just said, Michael figured out that the orc's life is in danger. He didn't give a damn about the orc's well-being, but if he could save the orc from the Guardians, he could use the orc to level up rapidly. Therefore, he wanted to stop the orc from doing anything stupid like going to war with the Guardians and take orc to the Abyssal where the orc could stay safe and summon Netherils for him to kill. Plus, the Abyssal may be the safest place to summon Netherils without getting detected by the Guardians. Of course, Michael would make sure they won't find out anything about his little secret activity in the dark forest with the help of the system. Oh, suddenly Michael detected another presence nearby, and it wasn't a Netheril. When he turned in the presence's direction, he noticed a dark red-haired youngster rushing towards the bonfire with a long spear in his hand. Is that the guy who was with Noah before? Michael saw this youngster before when he dashed into the portal. He was with Noah and Alicia. An hour ago, inside a worn-out cabin, there was a group of youngsters sitting on the floor. "Damn it, Noah, I told you we should look for treasures instead of that orc." Norvin, the golden Babaru, curled up against Maisie's chest and complained. "I heard Ghost and some disciples of Aragoth picked all the rarest herbs in the Sky Garden." Abel sighed thinking about those precious herbs, and said, "Capturing that orc is our first priority, Abel. If we don't, there will be another Slyhaven massacre." Abel and the others didn't talk back after hearing Noah's serious voice, while only Maisie looked confused. "Big brother Noah, what's Slyhaven massacre?" There was an awkward silence for a few moments before Alicia opened her mouth. Slyhaven was a village far away from Kethen. "A few weeks ago, someone summoned Netherils from this realm." "Why?" asked Maisie before Alicia could finish her sentence. "We don't know, but the Guardian suspects that the one who summoned them was practicing an evil ritual. The one who summoned picked two places and summoned the Netherils, Rivertown in Breedia and Slyhaven in Kethen. Apparently Rivertown was just a distraction to keep the Guardians away from Slyhaven," Abel said, gritting his teeth. "The Netherils attacked the village and massacred every single one of them. When the Guardians and the Baron's men came, it was already too late." Just by hearing the story, Maisie felt sad for the villagers, and then, her little face reddened in anger towards the culprit who summoned the Netherils. "Did you get the vile creature who was responsible for their death?" The ones who summoned the Netherils were 3 orcs. Peyton and Zanali killed the 2 of them, but the last one escaped. "We must capture the last orc and investigate it to know more about their plans and how did they manage to summon the Netherils from this realm to the outside world in the first place," Noah said, and before Maisie asked another question, he continued, "Guardian Captain Gerard believes the 3rd orc somehow entered the Nether realm, and since only body refining cultivators can enter here, we have to search and capture the orc before there's another massacre." "Oh, that's what you were talking with him?" Maisie said as Noah nodded. Big brother, you should have said this earlier. I will help you scour through this entire nether realm with you to find that orc. Maisie stood up as she put her hand on the chest and said. Noah smiled at the little girl. I know you will, Maisie. Big brother, what happened in Rivertown? After hearing about the Sly Haven, Maisie wanted to know what happened in Rivertown because even though Abel said it was a distraction, she wanted to know what happened to the Netherals that went to Rivertown. They were all killed by Ghost, Abel answered Maisie as Alicia scowled when she noticed a tinge of admiration in Abel's eyes. He did not kill all of them, he just stupidly started a fight with Netherals without thinking about the people in Rivertown or waiting for the Guardians to arrive. Do not admire him, Abel, he's a selfish bastard. You saw what he did to that man who tried to take shelter in the cave. Alicia spoke with a cold look on her face. That's not what the Rivertown people think of him. They say he saved him from the Netheral attack. And also, I don't admire him, I just wish he doesn't turn up to be another bad guy. The world has enough bad guys as it is. I don't know he's bad or not, but he's definitely not a good person. Stop it, Alicia. What did he do to you? You're just jealous that he's better than your sweetheart. The golden Bobberoo let out an evil grin and teased Alicia. Shut up, monkey. I'm sure big brother Noah can kick his ass any day, Maisie proudly said as everyone turned their gaze at Noah to hear his answer. I honestly don't know. After seeing him kill a group of youngsters on the Phoenix Island and how he vanished after facing Julius, Noah wasn't sure that he could defeat him. Deep down, Noah knew he's a better swordsman than him yet. Noah also knew that it's only temporary as Ghost doesn't have what he does. You're just playing with me, big brother. I know you can beat him. Hell, if I get the chance I'll show him who's the boss. After the fight with the Lane family and the pills and potions gifted to her by Noah, she was able to reach the body refining stage level 8 in a matter of days. Coupled with her cultivation level and her innate ability, she was damn confident that she could face any body refining stage cultivators except Noah and Alicia. In her eyes, only Noah and Alicia were powerful and people like Ghost are just overrated. Noah just smiled and didn't answer Maisie as he was thinking about the orc. His train of thoughts was stopped when he saw Abel stand up to leave the cabin. What are you up to? Asked the golden Bobberoo. Did you forget what I said to you before? He said and showed his wrist to the monkey. On his forearm, there was a star-shaped mark and in the darkness, it glistened. This is the mark of God. No Netheral or any evil forces can sense my presence, but let him go, Alicia. This is the reason I brought Abel here. Only he can go search all the caves and shelters for that orc. Noah interrupted Alicia. At first, they worried about Abel's safety, but after Noah explained the effects of the mark, they agreed to let Abel go outside. If you face any trouble that you can handle, use this. Noah tossed Abel a circle talisman. A long-range teleporter talisman. Where did you get this? Looking at the glistening talisman in his hand, Abel asked in surprise. Zanali, now go find the orc so we can focus on finding treasures. Noah waved him off as Abel left the cabin to search for the orc. At this moment, Abel did not know that the orc is not the only one he's going to find. Chapter 110. Abel was roaming around and searching the shelters when he saw a horde of Netherals marching into the forest. Because of the mark on his forearm, he was fearless of the Netherals and followed them behind to see where they were going. The orc's laughter didn't help it but revealed its location to Abel. Standing on top of a branch and hiding within the darkness, Michael noticed Abel approaching the orc with his spear raised. The distance between the orc and Abel rapidly decreased, but the orc had no idea of the upcoming danger. What's on his forearm? Michael frowned, looking at light radiating from Abel's forearm. In a few moments, Abel leaped out of the darkness and landed near the bonfire, startling the orc. Who? The orc stumbled back in shock, and before it could order the Netherals to attack the intruder, Abel's spear tip glowed and let out golden rays of light. Holy blast! The rays of light transformed into a small orb and dashed at the orc, who was still trying to stand on its feet. Boom! However, just as the orc was struggling to stand up, the light orb Abel sent blasted the orc and nailed it onto the tree behind. You will pay for all the lives you took, you filthy miscreant. Abel's eyes were filled with rage. He was doing his best to control his anger and killing the orc on the spot. The golden light soon wrapped around the orc's mouth as well as its body, leaving the orc with no room to wiggle or even move its finger. I'll take care of these later, but for now, you're coming with me. Although the orc was at body refining stage level 9 and Abel was at only level 8, the wounded the orc suffered weakened it to great extent. Coupled with Abel's attack speed and surprise entrance, he was able to capture the orc without much trouble. Abel looked at the orc struggling to move, but it could only move its eyes. Those eyes were filled with shock and fury. If looks could kill, Abel would have died 1,000 times. Ironically, even with the army of Netherils in its control, the orc couldn't save itself from getting captured. It desperately tried to open its mouth and gave an order to the Netherils in front of it, as without its order, the Netherils literally wouldn't do anything. Suddenly Abel noticed the change in the orc's eyes. Previously they were radiation, anger and shock, but now, they were wide and filled with immense terror. He saw the orc wildly wiggling its body to escape, as Abel could tell the orc's gaze is not on him but on something behind him. Puff! Just as Abel was about to turn back, the bonfire doused out as the surrounding turned pitch black. What? In the darkness, Abel saw a pair of red eyes looking at him. With no control over his body, he began to shiver and feel overwhelming fear. Leave, the orc is mine. Abel's heart skipped a beat when he heard the unearthly voice and stumbled back. His meditation to keep himself calm despite the situation started to fail him, as he couldn't stop being afraid of the red eyes before him. Nonetheless, Abel mustered all of his courage to fight his fear and screamed. Soon, the tip of the spear glowed again, and in the light, he vaguely saw the red eyes' face. The orc shook its body and fought to escape the light shackles. The skinless face, red eyes, and ghostly voice freaked out the orc and wanted to escape before the red eyes changed their focus towards it. Thud. 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 Because of Abel's lack of concentration on the shackles around the orc, they became slightly weaker and gave enough room for the orc to smash its head against the tree. Michael, who was in his Lucifer form, was surprised to see Abel fighting the fear toxin's effects. Michael gave Abel the chance to escape, but if Abel decided to fight, he had no problem killing Abel. The orc is dash, whoosh. Michael's words were abruptly stopped by Abel's spear throw. Abel was fast, but Michael was faster. When the spear was just an inch away from him, he caught the spear. So you've chosen death. Abel's eyes went wide in shock, looking at the spear helplessly vibrate in Michael's hand. He tried to summon the spear back to him with all his remaining courage, but the spear couldn't escape the clutches of Lucifer. Who are you? Abel asked while trying to crawl back in fear. He tried to see the red eyes' cultivation level, but shockingly, he was unable to. Death range. Michael knew people like Abel would have something up their sleeve, so he instantly activated the death range, which would make him 35% stronger and faster inside the range. Right after he activated the skill, Michael overpowered the spear completely as the spear stopped trembling. Looking at his weapon surrender itself, Abel knew he couldn't fight the being in front of him. While fighting against the overwhelming fear in his heart with his last bit of courage, he tried to take out the teleportation talisman that Noah gave him. No, you don't. Michael was glad he activated the death range when he saw Abel take out something. Thanks to the death range and the speed boost, he was quick enough to prevent Abel from using the item by throwing the spear at Abel. Pulch. The spear soared through the darkness and struck Abel on his shoulder. The teleportation scroll slipped away from Abel's fingers as Michael dashed at Abel to finish the job before he could use something else or Noah and his group arrive. Noah, will, come, pulch. Before Abel could finish what he was about to say, Michael took out the spear from Abel's shoulder and stabbed him through the chest. Cough. Abel coughed out blood as Michael stabbed him again. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 8 cultivator. The reward is 6,000 experience points and 8,000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing the ally of a powerful foe. The reward is an epic mystery box. Thud. After Abel died, the light shackles that wrapped around the orc disappeared, making the orc fall down to the ground. Michael gave no time for the orc to act as he dashed at the orc and lifted the orc by its neck. Order them to devour his body. With the help of arch-energy, Michael controlled the amount of fear toxin radiating from his suit of armor and let the orc inhale just as much as he wanted it to without killing the orc. The orc could barely breathe as it slowly nodded with difficulty. Eat him. The very next moment the orc uttered these two words, the netherals came back to life again and swarmed around Abel's body like a pack of hungry vultures around a lump of juicy meat. In mere seconds, they chewed through Abel's body and even ate most of his bones. Looking at the few reading bones of Abel, Michael didn't regret his decision to kill Abel a bit because he gave Abel the chance to escape, but it was he who chose to fight and ultimately die. He then turned his gaze back to the orc. "You can either die here with him or come with me to live. Your choice, don't kill me." The orc could barely speak these words, and after grinning behind the skull mask, he activated the lightning dash and disappeared from the area, taking the orc with him. Michael didn't stop running until he put a few miles distance from where he killed Abel. He also didn't forget to store Abel's spear in the system store before scanning the spear for any hidden traps. As far as he was concerned, he didn't leave any evidence that could identify him as Abel's killer. Soon, the gates to the nether realm would close, and after that, the name Abel would be lost in the time. Michael stopped at a place where he was sure that there's no one around them. He and the orc reached a deserted cabin in the middle of the forest. Thud. Michael threw the orc onto the wall and watched it stand up with difficulty. He stopped using the fear toxin on the orc and let it breathe the fresh air for a change. "What are you?" the orc asked and stood on the corner, still shivering in pain. "You don't need to know that just yet." He wanted to know more about the orc before revealing his identity. Of course, he wouldn't reveal his identity as Ghost. "You summoned those netherals to attack River Town. By connecting the dots of controlling the netherals, the orc summoner trait, and the wounds on its body, he guessed the orc might be the sorcerer who was chased by Selena and Alex." "You lie, you die," Michael warned the orc before it could spin a web of lies. The orc stood on the corner, swallowing the saliva in terror as it even avoided looking directly into his red eyes. "I just helped my father and brother." The orc surprised Michael with this answer, and by looking into its eyes, he could tell that the orc wasn't lying. "Tell me everything." Chapter 111. For the last couple of minutes, the orc told everything Michael needed to know. According to the orc, he was named Dalar and he belonged to a long line of summoners, a faction called Deathwakers. The orc said his father and brothers were the ones who summoned the netherals, but he also said they did that as an experiment and not to attack anyone. Obviously, Michael was not a fool to believe the last part, yet he chose not to cross-question the orc because he didn't bring the orc here to punish him but used the orc to level up quickly. As for the enmity between the orc and the Guardians, the matter was simple. The Guardians chased and killed Dalar's father and brother as well as all their family, including little orcs. Dalar said he was learning summoning from his father and brother to build a kingdom unifying all the orc villages that were scattered throughout the continent. He somewhat believed Dalar because he did see Dalar let out mad laughter after summoning the netherals, showing Michael that it was Dalar's first time summoning netherals. Besides, if Dalar was an expert in summoning netherals, he would have summoned stronger netherals. In his path to world domination, he knew the Guardians would stand against him. Therefore a fight with the Guardians was inevitable, and if Dalar could help him in the fight, he would let Dalar live to serve him as his subordinate. "You can't win the fight against the Guardians. You almost died back there, and he was only a friend of a trainee Guardian. Now tell me, Dalar, do you really think you have the chance against the Guardian Guild?" Despite their look, Orc was generally an intelligent race, so Dalar could understand the power gap between him and the Guardians. Now that the entire Guardian Guild was searching for him, Dalar realized that he needed someone powerful enough to protect him, and the being in front of him looked more terrifying than any Guardian he had met. "Serve me well and you'll not only get to see the Guardians destroyed but also get a kingdom for your race." There was a glint of surprise hidden within Dalar's eyes, but also doubt and suspicion. "Will you serve me as my subordinate?" asked Michael. Considering he couldn't threaten the orc to be his subordinate, he had to offer Dalar something and make him agree to be his subordinate willingly. Warning. 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 System error. Omega. Threat. However, the next moment, Michael's vision completely turned red and the system was screaming inside his mind. He instantly opened the system and saw the multiple warnings in the interface. "System, what's happening?" His heart was beating rapidly because, without the system, his plans and path to domination would take a huge hit. Need 1,000 points to system reboot. Take it, he didn't think the system was faking it, but it sounded like screaming in pain. Soon after he gave permission to the system, his vision turned blank and the system's interface faded away from his sight. System back online. A few seconds after, the familiar system interface appeared before him, and only then he heaved a sigh of relief. What the heck was that? System level is too low to answer the host's question. System recommends the host not to make Dalar his subordinate. Why? System level is too low to answer the host's question. Weird, the system's behavior puzzled him. Dalar was indeed a powerful ally, but he wasn't worth the trouble if making him a subordinate would mess up the system. Although Michael wouldn't be able to see Dalar's loyalty if he didn't make him Dalar his subordinate through the system, he didn't require Dalar's utmost loyalty to use Dalar's summoning ability. However, unlike Gaia, he had to keep Dalar under his sight all day to make sure the orc doesn't plan anything on his own to rebel or betray him. For that, Michael decided to keep him locked up in the abyssal and keep him under surveillance. I will, my lord. When Michael closed the system, he saw Dalar stepping forward and kneeling down in front of him. Very good, as he said, Michael bought a syringe and stabbed Dalar in his neck. Ah. What dash, you said you opened up a secret portal to come here. Open up the portal again and go to the dark forest's border. You'll meet my second in command and she will give you the antidote or you'll die in 6 hours. Dalar stumbled back again and felt a cold chill running through his spine. Do you have a problem? Michael released a small amount of fear toxin to subjugate Dalar, and as he planned, Dalar shook his head up and down rapidly after inhaling the fear toxin. No. No problem. My lord. Michael very well knew that if Dalar's loyalty is due to fear, it's not loyalty but fear disguised as loyalty. Yet for now, Dalar's fear of him would work in his favor. Now leave, he ordered Dalar when he noticed the cultivation masking function had only a few minutes left before it stopped working and revealed his cultivation level. Therefore, Michael urged Dalar to leave his sight because he didn't want to reveal his cultivation level to Dalar. Yes, my lord, because Orc had natural healing ability, the wounds he suffered almost disappeared and Michael did not need to give him a healing potion. Dalar picked himself up and quickly ran away from the cabin to open up the portal and reach the dark forest before he dies. After he saw Dalar disappear from his environmental scanning, Michael also left the cabin and dashed towards the cave. On his way to the cave, he transformed from Lucifer to Ghost. The night was still dark and silent when he reached his cave. Inside the cave, Michael instantly opened the system and bought another set of suit of armor for Gaia. The armor was exactly like his Lucifer armor, except he asked the system to change the armor to fit her body. He also bought another black mask for her to hide her face. Due to the changes to the armor, he paid extra 1,000 badass points, but it was worth the points and he couldn't wait to see Gaia in her new suit of armor. After he told Gaia what happened to Abel and everything about the orc, he opened up the system to see his current stats as well as to see what the mystery box contained which he received after killing Abel. System version 2.0 Host, Michael cultivation level, body refining stage, level 10 experience points, 180000/200000, 960,000 experience points remaining to be consumed, badass points, 26,000 skills and spells, wind blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignition, LVL2 lightning dash, LVL2 energy devolver, LVL1 death range, LVL2 techniques, swords of destiny, 86% mastery occupation, core disciple of sunrise sect, the guardian of sunrise sect, lord Lucifer of the abyssal status, healthy goals. Control the world, rebuild the order of death, utility function, banker, LVL2, ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 5 badass points, wealth, 685,000 gold, special trait, 5-star alchemist subordinates, Gaia, loyalty level 95%, base of operation, sunrise sect, the abyssal system. Open that mystery box. He was excited because the system's gift box would have something extremely valuable or useful to him. This time, he wanted a legendary weapon or a new spell. Soon, a grayish box appeared in front of him and trembled before it exploded into millions of tiny pieces, leaving Michael stunned. Huh? Where are my rewards? However, soon, he saw a white spot on his environmental scanning map, just like the time when the system marked the Book of Abyssal during the Phoenix Manor auction fair. Surprisingly, the location was not out there in the outside world but the nether realm. A point of interest, I wonder what I would find there. Oh, speaking of locations, the system, can you scan the nether realm and reveal me the treasures in here? System level is too low to scan the nether realm. But the system can tell you that treasures wouldn't appear during the night time. Bad luck. I was planning to steal all the treasures overnight. Michael sighed, thinking that his plan won't work, but still, his unlimited system storage space gave him the absolute advantage over everyone. System, after I killed that guy in the forest, you said I killed an ally of a powerful foe. By a powerful foe, did you mean Noah? System level is too low to answer the host's question. Oh, come on. Can you at least tell me yes or no? The system went radio silent hearing the question, and Michael could only sigh and hope to receive an answer after he upgrades the system to the next level. For now, he decided to let the matter rest, as he wanted to go check out the location that the system gave him as a gift. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Noah and his friends were waiting for Abel to return, but they did not know that Abel had just left this world. By killing Abel, Michael started the Age of Darkness as the Dark Lord. How far would Michael go in the path of darkness to achieve his goals? How many innocents is he going to kill in the process of becoming the ultimate overlord of this world? Chapter 112. Stop it, stop it. That is mine. Maisie shouted out loudly and lashed out of the thick forest into a lush grassland. At the same time, a sound echoed from the front. The sound was coming from a puppy that was injured as it limped while it ran. A group of youngsters was chasing after the puppy, and Maisie and Alicia were chasing behind them. However, those youngsters completely ignored Maisie. Instead, a pair of archers turned around and faced Maisie as they knocked their bows and released several arrows towards her and Alicia, all the while maintaining an eye on the puppy. Shoo! Shoo! At the same time, a pair of cold steel arrows darted in the air and made a whooshing sound as it soared threateningly towards both girls. Shit! Where did these bloody thieves come from? I'll kill you all. Maisie was enraged. Alicia knew she couldn't control this little girl, as she decided to let Maisie deal with these guys. Besides, she was more concerned about Abel and Noah, who went to search for him. Tightening her fist, she leaped into the air and she charged towards the pair of archers. Their faces turned serious as they retreated hurriedly. At the same time, they shouted out to their accomplices, "Kill them first before we decide what to do with that." The few of them listened to the instructions and hurriedly turned to Maisie in an utter surprise of his skills. A man held onto a sharp spear as he cast a glance at Maisie and Alicia and spoke out in shock. What the heck? That kid's a body refining level 8? Let's just kill the kid and her friend and get the real prize. Boom. 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 The pair of male archers and Maisie exchanged several blows. Their faces were grave as they spoke out in fear. Don't underestimate her. She's strong as fuck. Luckily, we managed to dodge her blows just by an inch. If not, we would have been fucked. Oh. The three of them listened to his words and cast their gaze at Maisie. Looking at all their gazes turned towards Maisie, Alicia frowned because, among the group who were chasing after the puppy, 5 of them were body refining stage level 9. The pair of archers were in the 8th level of the body refining stage. The rest of them were level 8 body refining stage cultivators. Their combined number was 20, and Maisie and she had no chance of surviving the battle without Noah with them. Initially, only Maisie and she were chasing the puppy, but because of the disciples from the Broad River sect who couldn't keep their mouths shut, many rogue cultivators joined the fight for the puppy. You go after our prize and well deal with them. After giving the order, the rest of the group blocked Maisie and Alicia's path. Maisie's face turned red in anger as she kicked the ground and spoke out loud, "I was the one who found it first." The rest of you started chasing it without saying anything and wanted to steal it from me. Run away before I'll break all your bones. All of them listened to the little kid speak and paused for a second before bursting out into intense laughter. Break our bones? Ha ha ha. That's hilarious. You two seem to be one of those freaks of nature. We get it, but look how many of us are here. You can't win this fight. It was us who saw it first, and it was you two who's trying to steal it from us. Besides, so what if you saw it first? This is Nether Realm, not your house. Even if you came from a big and powerful family, You are nothing but a chicken waiting to be slaughtered here, Maisie." Alicia tried to stop Maisie before she does something rashly, but the little girl was too cocky. "Fine, well, do this the hard way then. Do you wish to battle us alone or together? I suggest all of you attack together so that I could go and break your underling's hands before he puts his dirty hands on my pet." The group paused again in shock at her big words. Their mouths were wide open like fools before they burst out in laughter again. "Haha. I didn't hear wrongly, did I? Did this kid ask us to attack them all together? Hee hee. Kid, please don't assume that just because you've reached the body refining stage at this young age, you are unrivaled in this world. You should have taught that kid to keep her mouth shut, girl. People who think too highly of themselves will always meet their doom sooner rather than later. Clearly, your time to die isn't very far away." As they finished speaking, the few of them had mocking looks on their faces as it turned to cold laughter as they began their assault. Maisie's eyes squinted as she laughed coldly as well. "Don't worry, my death date is still very far away. However, for the rest of you, you already have one foot into the realm of the dead." Alicia knew it was too late to back off as she prepared to fight off them and hoped Noah would come to their rescue. At this moment, she missed having Noah's pills and potions to boost their power level. "Haha. What a sharp tongue you have. What an ignorant fool, kill them." "Good." The man and woman duo acknowledged before casting their spells. Their flying swords flew up into the sky and circled around their heads before conjuring a flaming ring that hovered just above them. They both pointed towards Maisie and Alicia in unison. The pair of archers took several steps back in order to gain some distance. They summoned their arch energy to their hands and prepared to fire arrows. Boom! Just as the two sides about to clash, a body came back flying while spurting out blood all over them. The body collided heavily with a boulder, some distance away, and the collision force left deep cracks onto the boulder. The sudden appearance of the body caused the ring of fire to disperse. Everyone including Alicia and Maisie stared at the headless body as one of the archers screamed out in horror, "It's Bowen." Ghost. While the group was staring at the body, Alicia looked up to see Michael walking towards them. She also saw Maisie's pet sitting comfortably on his shoulder. Soon, one by one, everyone turned their gaze away from the body and noticed Michael. The man wielding the spear had an ashen look as he cast a glance towards Michael. His face showed both fear and shock. "Did you kill him?" The pair of them spoke out furiously through gritted teeth as they knocked another arrow. Michael's face was bright as a day because he had found it, a little baby dragon. Yes, the puppy they were chasing was not a puppy but an actual baby dragon. Only Maisie and few others recognized it as a baby dragon, while many others thought of it as a rare magical beast cub. When Michael reached the system-marked location, he saw the baby dragon crying for help from the clutches of Bowen. The next and the last thing Bowen saw was just a flash of light before his head was separated from his shoulders. Michael then gently picked up the dragon and saw the wounds on its body. He immediately gave the baby dragon the healing potion and even gently poured it into its mouth. The baby dragon didn't feel any ill intentions from him, and after he cured its pain and made it feel safe, the baby dragon licked his face and wrapped its tail around his neck. Besides, he bought a piece of meat that the system recommended to him and fed the baby dragon on his way to kill everyone who tried to harm his dragon. Surprisingly, more than the healing potion, it was this piece of meat that made the baby dragon love him so much in an instant. "That's mine." Michael suddenly heard a childish voice and looked down to see a little girl raising her fist. Only then he saw Alicia, and although he didn't show any expression on his face, he was surprised to see Alicia. "Let me guess, another heaven-defying genius friend of Noah." Michael sighed inside as the archers shouted at him again. "Answer the question, did you kill him? Are you stupid?" "Of course I did," Michael mocked the archers. His answer and the way he answered pissed off the entire group as the archers released the arrows. However, even before the arrows could reach him, they saw him disappear from their sight. Every one of them froze in shock, and in a blink of an eye, they heard a sword-slashing sound, and the ones who stood beside the archers felt a hot splash of blood hit their faces. Pooh! Pooh! The pair of archers fell to the ground as their heads rolled off their bodies. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 8 cultivator. The reward is 6,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 8 cultivator. The reward is 6,000 experience points and 800 badass points. The next moment, he returned to the place where he stood before killing the archers. You're dead meat. You dare to kill my Broad River sect brothers. You're finished. The man wielding the spear stopped in his tracks and glared at Michael in rage. Blood River sect? Holy shit, I'm lucky, I was searching for you guys. Chapter 113. Why was he searching for them? Everyone was thrown into a moment of confusion as they looked at each other. Indeed, nobody knew the meaning of his words. Only the man who was wielding the spear glared coldly at Michael and had a faint cold smile on his face. Searching for us? Well, you drew out attention in a most stupid way. The minute he spoke out, everyone paused to listen before they started to react. He killed Bowen, what are we waiting for? Damn it, that's our baby dragon. Catch him. Let's show him what would happen to those who mess with the Broad River. Die. In that instant, even without their leader to instruct them, the Broad River sect disciples rushed towards Michael with faces of evident rage. Stop, however, their steps were halted by Michael's voice, and although he spoke quietly, the arch-energy made his voice sound loud. What? The spear-wielding man and the archers asked Michael while Alicia looked at him curiously to see why he asked them to stop. Why did you scream die before attacking? All of them were stunned hearing Michael's question, including Alicia and Maisie. Initially, Alicia thought he's going to talk this out because she didn't think he could kill all of them by himself. As far as she was concerned, only Noah could kill them without anyone's help. The Broad River disciples and their lackeys stared at him for a few seconds before gritting their teeth in anger because they thought he was mocking them. Die. What did I just ask you? They screamed die again and surprised Michael as he sighed. Diddle diddle. Just like before, his body disappeared from their sight in a form of a flash of lightning. Who is he? Although he's a body refining stage level 10, he can't beat all of them. He seemed familiar. Meanwhile, those who were watching the scene from the distance wondered. Some of them watched the scene with gaping mouths as Michael transformed into a bolt of lightning and charged straight towards the Broad River sect disciples fearlessly. We are so little. For a few seconds, Alicia and the others heard slashing sounds and saw the bolt of the lightning dash around the disciples before witnessing Michael return to his previous position. The spear-wielding man and the few others saw their friends stand in their running posture like statues, and before they could realize what just happened, their bodies fell apart from within. Yuck. Shit. Ah. Looking at the organs and chunks of body parts, some of the onlookers threw up on the spot while some looked pale. They didn't see Michael swing his sword, but they all now realized that he cut them like a piece of meat and he was too fast to see his motions. Just one move was able to do this? He had killed 10 Broad River sect disciples in a few seconds, and they were all level 9, body refining stage cultivators. How? How was this possible? The remaining Broad River sect members were shocked as their mouths were opened wide in fear. The way they looked at Michael took a tremendous change. Their arrogant facial expressions gave way to that of fear, as though they were looking at a strange beast. Alicia was shaken as well. She gawked at him. Her mouth was slightly opened in surprise and shock. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. There were continuous beeps that echoed in his head, and they continued to ring without stopping for a couple of seconds. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 2,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 3,000 badass points. His unconsumed experience points reached almost 1 million points, which would let him break through to the body strengthening stage level 3 in one go. Also, his badass points were nearing the amount 40,000 after everyone, including Alicia and Maisie. Are you alright, baby dragon? He would have killed them all in one go, but he stopped using lightning dash as the baby dragon was not very familiar with the feeling of being moving that fast. Its little face already seemed slightly green, and Michael feared that it would barf on him. He already realized that the baby dragon could understand the human tongue, and after hearing his question, it tried to say something, but only the hoo-hoo sound came out of its mouth. What happened to your smug faces? Don't like being bullied? Looking at the Broad River disciples who had now lost their fighting courage, Michael snickered. Those who were watching the scene had looks of fear and surprise etched across their faces. They were standing still from shock and didn't move an inch. Diddle, with a devilish grin on his face, he stepped forward instead of using the lightning dash. With each step he took forward, the remaining group of Broad River sect cultivators took a step back unconsciously due to fear. Diddle, at the very last moment, the group of Broad River sect disciples regained their senses and started conjuring different spells in a bid to defend themselves, but were still scared stiff. We are so little, regardless of whatever spells or skills they cast, they couldn't touch Michael through his responsive shield. After their futile attempts to defend themselves were made apparent, they stared right at the silver sword as it descended down upon their faces. At the next moment, everything turned black as they bade farewell to this world. To the future Dark Lord, all these attempts to defend themselves were pointless. The onlookers stared at him wide-eyed, completely astonished, and somewhat fearful. Why is he this powerful? Who the heck is he? He must be using some epic to defend himself from their attack. Also, did you see the spell he used before? I couldn't even see him. He mumbled something before attacking. That must have been the reason for his power. Alicia's face showed a gloomy expression looking at Maisie, and the reason she came into the nether realm, the baby dragon. Now the chance of her getting the baby dragon seemed much less possible. Even Noah wouldn't fight him for the baby dragon because it didn't belong to Maisie, but she only found it first. She could see the baby dragon had already started to feel safe around him and thinking of him as its friend. Meanwhile, Michael was killing the rest of the Broad River sect happily as well. The system was repeatedly beeping in his mind, informing him of the rewards he had received. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Plop. At the very end, Michael slapped the last one standing, the one who was wielding the spear. He then stood in the middle of the wreckage of dozens of bodies and grabbed the man by his neck and lifted him up. He then shouted out loudly, "What's your name?" The man struggled to breathe and barely managed to say his name. Ender, I need you to deliver this message to your sect master. Ghost of Sunrise Sect asked him to come to Sunrise Sect. The next moment he hears this from you, or the next day, there won't be a Broad River Sect. He threatened Sander and shocked everyone around him. In his mind, he had plans for this Broad River Sect. Ghost? Sander hesitated for a moment as he searched his memories before realizing he had heard this name before. His eyes went wide and then slowly asked, "What's your feud with us? Seriously? Do you think I don't know your history of bullying my sect whenever you get the chance? The time of bullying my sect is over. From now on, it will be us who do the bullying, Michael chuckled while saying the latter part. Sander felt an ache in his chest as he nodded and wanted to escape with his head attached to his shoulder. Alicia and Maisie were trying to keep their mouths closed but had weird expressions on their faces. Unlike Abel believed, after they heard what he just said, they realized that he's not any different than an arrogant young master. Alicia thought that even if the Broad River sect had bullied the Sunrise sect before, killing them brutally like this and threatening to end their sect didn't go well with her. Now run along, he patted Sander on the cheek playfully and threw him away. Sander felt extremely relieved and didn't even take his spear from the ground as he ran as fast as he could from the sights of Michael. Hoo-hoo, the baby looked happy to see him run away as it affectionately licked Michael's face. In Maisie's mind, the baby dragon was her, and seeing it play with Michael made her little face turn red in anger. And just as he was about to turn and leave, Maisie stepped forward and raised her voice at Michael. Stop right there. Chapter 114. Michael was surprised at the little girl and turned to face her. She was nearly Cindy's age, but in his eyes, this little girl was nowhere near Cindy as she seemed extremely arrogant and tyrannical. It's mine. Even though there was no need to raise her voice to reach him, she shouted in a domineering way. For a moment, he stared at Alicia and hoped she would warn this little girl, yet Alicia did nothing. He kept staring at the little girl and didn't speak a word as she stepped forward and pointed her finger at the baby dragon. That baby dragon belongs to me, Maisie Cooper. Alicia almost forgot how domineering this little girl could be. They didn't see this side of Maisie because when Noah was around, Maisie would behave like an obedient kitten. Alicia would have advised Maisie to back off, but she knew how much Maisie loved to have a dragon as her pet, and no matter what she would say, the little girl would not back off and let go of the baby dragon. Therefore, Alicia decided to back Maisie, and if push comes to shove, she would fight Ghost until Noah and Abel arrive. Oh, on the other side, Maisie saw him gently grab the baby dragon and search its body for something. Hoo-hoo, the baby dragon giggled as it felt ticklish when he lifted its wings and examined its body. Maisie and Alicia frowned watching him before he placed the baby dragon on his shoulder again and looked at Maisie. Nope, can't find your name on it. Many who assumed the entertainment was over now started to believe that the real entertainment has just begun. Many chuckled inside hearing his answer, and Maisie's face turned redder in anger. He's really not putting the little girl in his eyes. The little girl is crazy. He just massacred a group in front of her eyes and she still dared to raise her voice at him. She's either too stupid or belongs to a big power. Let's just wait and see, the onlookers murmured, looking at him and Maisie. Give me my dragon before I make you. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Maisie palmed her fist and looked like she was ready to fight for the baby dragon, which only made Michael chuckle. You should be afraid of me if you think you can take the baby dragon from me. He didn't raise any killing intent or looked cold but said with a calm face. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. The system suggests the host challenge Maisie and get the Ring of Fire. He ignored the badass points notifications, but when he heard the last notification from the system, he momentarily opened the system and read it again to make sure he heard right. Ring of Fire? Is it a legendary class spell? His eyes glistened in excitement as he saw a blue description box appear in front of his eyes. Spell name, Ring of Fire effect, creates a shockwave of flames and a ring of fire around the caster for a short amount of time. Upgradable through mentor function current level. Rare. The spells from the system had no current level stat, and unlike the system bot spell, he wouldn't be able to unleash the maximum potential of the spell right out of the bat, but he had to pay badass points as well as practice or use the spell more often to unleash the spell's maximum potential. Although Michael preferred not to hurt a little girl like Maisie, it didn't mean that he won't teach her a lesson and in the process, get the Ring of Fire from her by exploiting her arrogance and her yearning for the baby dragon. So you're ready to fight for the baby dragon? Michael quickly asked before she says something wrong and cross his limit. Yes. Alicia noticed a grin hiding behind Michael's face and frowned, thinking that he's planning something. Since I don't like bullying little kids, I'll make you a deal. If you can make me even take a step back, I'll give you the dragon. But if you couldn't, you have to give me something as valuable as this baby dragon. Tell me, little girl, do you think you can do this in one move? Don't worry, I won't move or fight back. By calling her a little girl, he flamed the fan of her arrogance. No one except body strengthening stage level 7 cultivators could touch him through the responsive shield. Maisie was only a body refining stage cultivator, so no matter how hard she tries or the level of spells she uses, she wouldn't be able to even move him an inch, let alone make him take a step back. Maisie gritted her teeth and tightened her fist, looking at the grin on his face. She wanted to knock his teeth out and prove him wrong by sending him flying back. Maisie, don't hold back, use your strongest attack. Alicia bent over to reach Maisie's ears and advised her. During the Phoenix auction fair, she saw the battle between him and a group of youngsters. It was not even a battle but a one-sided massacre, and she knew about the light blue shield that protected him from their attacks. They couldn't even touch him through the shield, but Alicia knew Maisie wasn't like those youngsters. Maisie was blessed with the innate talent that makes her stronger than anyone in her cultivation stage. Although Alicia doubted Maisie's chance of winning the fight against Ghost, she believed that if Maisie used the Mystic Fist skill, Maisie could break the shield and make him take a step back. The Mystic Fist was a spell that let Maisie conjure a fist made of pure arch energy, and after Noah made some changes to the spell became stronger than it was. I broke many faces of people who underestimated me. Your face will be the next on the list. Maisie puffed out her chest to show her courage and exclaimed proudly and in Michael's eyes, arrogantly. This is a rare class spell. I'll place this as the bet system. Is that the Ring of Fire spell? Scanning. Yes. After hearing the confirmation from the system, he smiled and stroked the baby dragon's face while it showed a troubled expression on its face. The baby dragon worried that he might lose the bet and give it to the little girl, but the smile on Michael's face reassured the baby dragon. Alicia took the spell scroll from Maisie's hand and made her way to the middle to be the judge of this bet. Since Michael made sure that no one can take away the baby dragon from him by paying the system 5,000 badass points, he handed over the baby dragon to Alicia without fretting about her escape with his dragon. He almost felt bad for them because yesterday, he killed their friend, and now he's going to take what the little girl desires the most, the baby dragon. Plus, he was going to take a rare spell scroll from her, like taking candy from a baby. Hoo hoo hoo, the baby dragon reached out its claws and cried while he was handing it out to Alicia. Get tough, baby dragon, it'll be over in a moment. Michael patted the baby dragon in the head and said. The onlookers were surprised to see the baby dragon stop crying after hearing Michael's words. He's so lucky. Why didn't I get a baby dragon? What a majestic creature. One of them is going to have a fully grown dragon as their pet in the future. I can't even imagine it. Be glad that you didn't get a dragon. The one who's going to end up with the dragon is in for a ride when rogue cultivators and adventurers hear about the baby dragon. If you ask me, neither of them can protect the baby dragon and raise it as their own. Many powerful families and sects will try to get their hands on it. Michael heard these conversations going around him and agreed with some of them, but he didn't worry about someone stealing his dragon, because if anyone tried to harm the baby dragon, the system would raise an alarm and teleport the baby dragon to either Abyssal or S special storage unit of the system. Of course, he had to pay 5,000 badass points per 6 months to keep this function activated, yet compared to the baby dragon, 5,000 badass points were not too much. You can't fight back, and if you take even one step back, the baby dragon will go to her. If not, the baby dragon and this spell scroll belongs to you. Do you agree? Alicia coldly asked Michael as he nodded, and then she looked at Maisie to see her give a small nod. Remember, she has one move, Michael calmly said, and Alicia could only nod and hope that the Mystic Fist would let Maisie win the baby dragon. Let's see what you got, little girl. Chapter 115. Because of the drama and curiosity, many people stepped closer and curled Michael and Maisie. Michael was happy to see the crowd around him and expected to receive at least 2,000 badass points by impressing these crowds. On the opposite side to Michael, Maisie let out a cold snort and closed her eyes to conjure the arch energy to use her strongest attack, the Mystic Fist. Although Alicia advised her to use the Mystic Fist, the main reason for her to go with Mystic Fist was she wanted to humiliate Ghost, who was said to be on the same stage as Noah. She wanted to prove Abel and everyone wrong by defeating Ghost, and in her mind, she really believed that she could win this bet and defeat him. Ever since she started cultivating, she never lost a battle. Zzzzzzh. Just a few seconds after she closed her eyes, the onlookers felt the ground slightly trembling and heard an unearthly humming in the air. Soon, their jaws dropped and their eyes went wide as they could in shock, looking and feeling the pure arch energy that's being gathered around Maisie. Alicia was not an exception to this, as she also seemed amazed by the spell. Holy shit, is that an epic class spell? Yes, it is. I heard only someone from the Cooper bloodline can use this spell. Can he really withstand this attack? He did say he won't move or fight back. This spell seems like it could kill even a body-strengthening cultivator. Look. The fist is taking shape. Michael calmly watched a huge fist made out of nothing but glistening silvery arch energy appear above Maisie's head. The fist was tall as a coconut tree and as wide as a couple of buses lined up, and it grew bigger by the seconds. However, there was no fear in Michael's eyes but excitement, because the more powerful and fancy the attack, the more badass points he would get after defending himself from the attack. Also, he was laughing out loud inside, looking at Maisie and Alicia's face, because, unlike their expectation, the fist wouldn't be even able to touch him, let alone sending him flying back. Hoo. The baby dragon, however, sensed the overwhelming power of the fist and cried and tried to claw its way out of Alicia's hands to Michael. Looking at his scaly friend being terrified by the spell, Michael turned and winked at the baby dragon to reassure it. The baby dragon seemed to have calmed down a bit as the fist reached its full power. The fist now looked gigantic, and it almost reached the size of a 3-story building. The mystic fist was only able to reach this potential because of Noah, who did some changes to the spell and unlocked its full potential. Of course, the downside of these changes was the time it takes to cast the spell. Since Michael said he won't fight back and gave her the time, Maisie didn't worry about the casting time. The very next moment, the little girl opened her eyes and looked extremely domineering in many eyes. Alicia stepped back a few meters in case the aftershock was too powerful and pushed her away. Let's step back away. Many people thought the same and rushed back away from Michael and Maisie while not taking their gazes away from them. Are you finished? I have places to be. Maisie's body shivered in anger, seeing the calm and careless look on his face. Why is he so calm? If he's acting like he's cool, he's the damn best actor I've seen. I don't think he's acting. Shut up and watch. If I cannot wipe that smile off your smile, my name is not Maisie Cooper. She shouted as loud as she could and sent the fist soaring towards Michael. As the gigantic fist let out an ear-piercing howling sound. Everyone's gazes were changing between Michael and the fist. Many watched the fist approaching Michael while biting their nails in anticipation. 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 10 meters. Michael's raven black hair and his long coat fluttered back in the wind, and even when he stood just 10 meters away from the fist, people noticed no fear or alarm in his eyes. 7 meters, 2 meters, boom. They saw the fist strike him and create a small dust storm in the place where he stood. Some of the people who stood relatively closer to Michael flung back due to the aftershock, and the rest of them may have kept the distance but still felt the force of the aftershock. Many, including Alicia, were forced to take a few steps back. People saw Maisie stand a few meters back from where she stood initially and turned their gazes at the dust storm. What? Alicia's voice was quiet, but Maisie and some of them could hear her. A few seconds after, the dust storm settled and revealed Michael, and only then they realized the reason for Alicia's shout. Maisie, Alicia, and every single one of them who witnessed the clash stood still in utter shock, because there stood Michael. Neither did he have a scratch on his body nor moved an inch from where he was before the attack. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. He expected 2000 badass points, but he got double the amount than he initially thought. He thanked Maisie and Alicia for this wonderful opportunity. That was it? Humph, he snickered, and his gaze was full of contempt and ridicule which shook Maisie's pride and self-confidence. How, what? Maisie couldn't help but mumble under her breath in utter shock. Not in a million years she thought he would stand still taking the mystic fist head-on. What shocked her more was Noah's words as he said no one in the same cultivation stage as she would survive the fist. But not only she was unable to kill him, she couldn't even make him take a step back. Arrogance has to be earned, and if something needs changing he didn't complete his sentence but raised his hand as the scroll and the baby dragon came flying into his hands. The baby dragon's eyes were filled with joy, and it quickly clawed its way to his shoulder from his hand and wrapped its tail around his neck to sit comfortably on his shoulder. Usually, Maisie would have a snarky comeback for everything, but now, no words came out of her little mouth because of the shame and shock. His words flamed the fans of her humiliation. It's your attitude. After the onlookers digested the fact that he actually survived the mystic fist, they looked at him with utmost admiration and respect. Don't think too highly of yourself because you reached this level at a young age and have an epic class spell. I could have killed you 100 times before you finish casting that spell of yours. Michael continued to roast her, and her face turned redder and redder. For the first time in her life, Alicia felt afraid of someone. After seeing him survive the mystic fist without a scratch, she realized that he was right. He could have indeed killed Maisie if he wanted to. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. At this moment, she doubted even Noah could defeat him. Now she finally understood why Peyton and Zanali wanted to recruit him first. Amidst the shocked gazes, Michael gave a last glance at Maisie before turning himself into a lightning bolt and disappearing from their sight. Even after he left the place, no one was able to close their mouth. Right this moment, none looked at Maisie as a young genius but a loud-mouthed brat. Michael did not know that he attracted many eyes and spread his legend across all the kingdoms in the Elon continent. Without Noah knowing, Michael killed one of his closest friends and destroyed the self-confidence of Maisie, the girl he thought of as his little sister. In just 2 days after coming to the Nether Realm, he gained a lot more than everyone else. First, he obtained most of the herbs in the Sky Garden, and then, he gained a contract to supply pills and potions to Aragoth, and now, he got what he wanted the most ever since he came to this world, a dragon. Besides, he gained a new underling, but who knows what the orc hides beneath his ugly face. While Michael was celebrating his gains, his old enemy has begun the plot to destroy him and everything he built once and for all. Obviously, this old enemy was Jane, and she had no idea that there's someone just as bad as Ghost is waiting to mess up her revenge plans. Now that we had enough badassery of Michael, the Lord of Darkness, it's time to witness the Queen of Darkness in action. Chapter 116, Sister Elia. Sister Elia. Inside Michael's home in the Sunrise sect, Gaia was cultivating until she heard Jack calling her out. She sensed panic in Jack's voice as she stood up and walked towards the door. It's been 5 days since Michael left, as time flows differently in the outside world than the Nether Realm. For the last 5 days, she was busy as a bee. She spent half of her day in Majestic and half of the day overseeing the construction of their new high-end restaurant as well as the renovation of the Sunrise sect. Because of the works, she didn't even talk to Michael through the earpiece but fully focused on the work at hand. Today was supposed to be her holiday and planned to spend the day cultivating. This little shit better has a valid reason, she cursed him under her breath and opened the door to see Jack outside the door with 5 finger marks on his right cheek. On the corner of his mouth, there was a red smudge. All of his clothes were stained with mud and dust, and there were even some scratches on his hands. He seemed like he went skating on the ground with his body. Sister Elia, seeing Gaia, Jack felt relieved. Despite her cultivation, Jack thought of her as someone he could rely on or ask for help. What happened? She knew the red smudge was blood, and also she didn't fail to notice his legs shiver. Sister Elia, some adventurers stopped the renovation work and they are asking for more gold coins. I tried to negotiate with them, but did they do this to you? She interrupted him before he finishes his sentence as Jack nodded his head. I'm going to beat the crap out of them for attacking my minion, come. She tied her raven black hair into a ponytail and rushed towards the student quarters because that's the place they were renovating. Sister Elia, those adventurers have a body-strengthening level 8 cultivator with them. We should go and get the Baron's men. While the sect is being renovated, Claire and the elders went to capital to meet the king of Breedia and settle their debts. Daniel and Ricky were working with the dwarven engineer to build the restaurant according to Michael's plan. That left the sect with Elia, and she appointed Jack as her minion and gave him the job to oversee the renovation while she's away. Shut the fuck up and follow me. Plop. She slapped the back of his head hard and continued to walk. After he was slapped and thrown away from the student quarters by those adventurers, his first instinct was to run to Ghost's home and call Sister Elia. He didn't think anything about her cultivation or how weak she is compared to a body-strengthening cultivator. For Jack, Ghost was the highest existence in his world, as he basically worshipped him in his mind. Because of Ghost, he had tremendous respect towards Elia, even though she would beat him regularly whenever she gets the chance. However, he never got mad at Elia after a while because he knew she might be the only person who would fight for him and protect him like a big sister. He ran behind her like a little kid and hoped that she has a way to resolve this conflict with the adventurers. A few minutes after, Gaia and Jack came to the renovation site. No one can work until someone pays us what they owe us. The disciples and the workers stopped what they were doing and kept their distance from a group of adventurers who just beat Jack. All the adventurers in the group were a body-strengthening stage level 3 cultivator except the one who was shouting orders at the workers. He was a body-strengthening stage level 8 cultivator. In Gaia's eyes, they all had one thing in common: they didn't seem like they came to do construction and renovation work, as they were strong enough to get more paying quests. Their armor alone was worth at least 100 gold coins apiece, and they certainly did not need to work for 20 silver a day. Who hit you? Asked Gaia. Sister Elia. Sister Elia is here. Sister Elia. Many disciples shouted the name Elia when they saw her. The adventurers, however, just snickered looking at her cultivation level, except for the strongest adventurer, who looked Gaia with eyes filled with lust. Many girls who saw him staring at Gaia made them feel nauseated, and they prepared themselves to fight the adventurers if they dared to touch Elia. After Ghost joined their sect, the reputation of the Sunrise sect took a turn, and many who bullied them for fun now wouldn't even dare to look at them in a wrong way. Only because of him that they were able to settle their debts and receive the needed resources to cultivate with no hindrance. Therefore, how could they let Ghost's girlfriend be violated by these adventurers? It was me, pretty girl. A middle-aged man who was thin as a stick made his way towards Gaia with a wicked grin on his face. Plop. Ah, the middle-aged man halted his steps when he saw Gaia suddenly slap Jack. Did you really let this walking stick slap you? Look at him. Everyone was stunned by the words coming out of Elia, especially the thin man. He didn't think he would be mocked by a body-refining stage girl. A gust of wind could have killed this fucker. You. How did you even climb the stairs against the wind? Ha 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 ha. Gaia couldn't keep a serious face as she burst into laughter. Sister Elia, Jack tried to stop her from antagonizing the man any further as he already looked pissed off. Your mom was also so thin as, she said laughing, she ate a meatball and thought she's pregnant. Gaia began to abuse the man's family and continued, but it turned out she was really pregnant with you. Ha ha ha. Her joke might have been a bad one, but the man's reaction made even his friends chuckle for a moment. How dare you? Who? However, when he stepped forward at Gaia raising his fist, she let out a blow of wind, and shockingly, the wind came out of her mouth really did send him flinging away like a kite without an anchor in a storm. The scene stunned everyone as they watched the man disappear with their mouths wide open. She only looked like a body-refining stage cultivator, but in reality, she was a core formation level 7 cultivator. For her, killing a body-strengthening stage level 3 cultivator as easy as stepping on an ant. Was that me or the wind? She looked at the sky and said while the rest of the adventurers stared at her speechlessly. Sister Elia, you. Gaia ignored Jack and looked at the leader. I heard you want more gold coins. Here is my counter offer. pay my minion's healing cost, apologize to him and run away as fast as you can." There was no smile on her face as she said seriously. "Healing cost? How much would that be?" the leader, who was a bulky old man with a white beard, asked. 9,000 gold coins plus 2,000 for the psychological pain my minion experienced because of you. Is Sister Elia serious? Did you do that? How did she do that? Am I seeing it wrong, or she's just a body refining stage cultivator? I bet Brother Ghost gave something to her making her this powerful. I think so too, or how could have she done that? Do you think she can kill him too? I don't know that, but if they hurt her, Brother Ghost will tear them to pieces. He's not here. Let's hope Sister Elia can beat their ass. The disciples already began to chatter while the adventurers had weird looks on their faces after hearing Gaia's words. They did not know whether she's joking with them or not, but they knew that she's not normal. Are you hit on the head, girl? I don't know what you used to do what you did, but no buts. You either do what I told you or die. Gaia interrupted the leader with her words, and seeing the careless look on her face, the leader glanced at the man on his side as he stepped forward to take care of Gaia. Jack, keep an eye on that guy. I have a feeling that this is now what it seems to be. While the man was on his way towards Gaia, she ordered Jack and rolled her sleeves upwards. After looking at the confidence in her eyes, Jack felt powered. He gave a quick nod and started to watch the leader as she said, "I need to torture your leader, so I suggest you all 6 to come at me together. I don't like my time being wasted." The more everyone heard her words, the more they became surprised and shocked. If anyone else was in this situation, they would be afraid, but in her eyes, there was no fear at all. Bring me all the teeth on her mouth. The leader had enough of her. He never expected a body refining stage cultivator like her would mock them to this extent without showing any signs of distress. Good way to torture someone. I'll pull your teeth one by one, just wait a few seconds. Chapter 117. Gaia spoke with a voice like a great bell while portraying an incredibly imposing manner. The disciples heard her words and they couldn't help but feel goosebumps all over them. Since Gaia seemed like she has a way to kill them all, they trusted Gaia instead of doubting her. Humph. You're just a small body refining warrior, you haven't even reached level 8, yet you dare threaten me and kill one of my men? You're simply courting death. 3 of you, go beat the crap out of these disciples. I'll handle her. The leader let out a cruel snort. While giving orders to the others, he stared at Gaia with a bloodthirsty look. Once he finished speaking, he stuck his tongue out of his mouth and licked lips. Understood. The other 3 dashed towards the disciples at the same time. They were fast, but Gaia was faster. With no warning, Gaia blocked the way in front of an adventurer, then she smashed his skull with just a single palm strike. Holy! Ah! The disciples and the workers who just saw this scene were terrified beyond words. They never thought a body refining stage cultivator like her could kill a body strengthening stage cultivator simply like this. She just slapped him, but his head exploded like an overfilled balloon. After brutally and quickly killing the first person, Gaia didn't slow down as she punched the second one through his chest. A hot splash of blood spread across many disciples' faces, and Jack saw Gaia's hand sticking out of the man's back with the still beating heart in her hand. What? The leader shouted out in disbelief. He could finally react and halted his steps. He just stood still like a statue, speechlessly. He never expected that this young girl whom he looked down upon could have such a ferocious approach and kill 2 of his men in an instant, making their adventuring party suffer a great loss. You're gonna die. The leader became furious. He quickly retrieved his mace and raised the mace high up into the air, then he forcefully threw it towards Gaia. With this action, he tried to save the 3rd man's life before she could brutally kill him. However, she grabbed the man by his neck and threw him towards the mace, which was still soaring through the air. Plop! Blood and pieces of flesh flew off in all directions. The mace produced a buzzing sound after it collided with the man's body. Because of the force of Gaia's throw and the power of the mace split open the man's head in the midair. The terrified expression on everyone's face became thicker. None of these adventurers was Gaia's match. Although the leader was much stronger than the men she just killed, compared to her, he was still feeble as a baby. When she killed these men, In the nether realm, Michael received the notifications and tried to contact her through the earpiece, but she put the earpiece in her space ring while she was cultivating and didn't put it back on. Among his party, 3 were instantly killed by Gaia, and 1 was sent into the sky. They were hired to cause problems for Ghost while he was away and hurt his girlfriend as well as a few of the disciples in the process. But, right at this moment, he realized that he stepped into the wrong place and met a devil in the form of this girl. Sister Elia rocks. Hail Sister Elia. Looking at the terrified faces of the remaining adventurers, some of the male disciples cheered after Jack. The leader let out an angry roar, then he unleashed his full power and slashed his mace at Gaia as she punched the mace, covering her fist with arch energy. Bam! The mace and the fist clashed with each other. The center of collision exploded and surprisingly, there appeared cracks on the mace. The leader was sent dozens of meters away from the impact while coughing blood out from his mouth. Humph. Can't even withstand a single fucking punch. She let out a cold snort, then she turned her attention at the remaining adventurers before they could escape and dashed at them with a wide evil grin on her face. The grin on her face not only terrified the disciples but also sent a cold chill running the adventurers' spines. The adventurers intended to escape, but before even they could take a step, she appeared before them and started crazily attacking them. Bam bam bam. With every strike, a loud explosion-like sound would follow. The adventurers tried blocking the attacks with shields and their hands, but, under Gaia's lightning-fast attacks, they could only defend for a few seconds before she broke shields and bones. She could have simply killed them 1 punch to each adventurer, but she beat them to induce the fear of God in the leader's heart so he would break easily when she starts investigating him. Besides, this was her first battle after a long time, therefore, she didn't intend to end the fight so soon. If Michael was here, he would be surprised at the way she moves and fights and think of her because she fought like the female version of Bruce Lee and Ip Man mixed together. With each one of her strikes, 1 adventurer would spit out a mouthful of blood and drop to the ground, losing their consciousness in fear and pain. Damn it, who is this abnormal monster and why is she so strong? The leader couldn't help but curse. Today, he had personally decided to attack, and he had also brought many experienced body-strengthening stage warriors with him. In his mind, with this strong force, he would be able to kill not only the ghost but everyone in this sect. Yet, he had never expected he would suffer such great losses. Dead already, sigh. Weak as you would choose what quest? Catch goblins? Looking at the adventurers on the ground laying in their own pool of blood, she sighed and asked the dead ones with a disappointed face. Right at this moment, there was nothing but fear in the leader's eyes. Deep down, he wanted to tear the old man who gave this quest into pieces. At first, he took this quest to cause problems for Ghost and his sect because it was great pay for an easy job such as this. But now he wanted to go back in time if he could and change his decision. Not good. Looking at the grin on her face, the leader's legs trembled in fear. He could sense a great amount of danger from her right now. He immediately conjured all the arch energy in his body and tried to escape, but Gaia was way too fast. It was so fast that the leader couldn't escape at all. He could only move with instincts and raise the mace to attack. Just like before, Gaia didn't use any fancy spells but punched the mace with her raw strength. Clang! The mace in the leader's hand couldn't withstand such a heavy blow. It was finally broken in half. After that, the leader let out a horrifying cry and fainted on the spot. "I'll deal with you later," she said, looking at the unconscious leader, and turned her gaze towards Jack. "You little shit, strip all the valuables from the bodies." Jack couldn't help but be terrified at Elia after witnessing the massacre that happened in front of him. It took a few seconds for him to react to her order, and he walked towards the bodies as fast as he could to do as she said. The other disciples and workers were shocked to see her order loot the bodies, but they were too afraid to open their mouth against her. Under Gaia's cruel slaughter, except the leader, all the adventurers in his group lost their lives. The area of the student quarters was filled with corpses and reeked fresh blood. After a few minutes, one girl who knew that Gaia loved attention and devotion from others started cheering from the crowd. "Mighty Sister Elia! Mighty Sister Elia!" Soon, every single one of the disciples was cheering together. Slowly the fear in their eyes faded away and glowed as they stared at Gaia. Hearing the cheers, she stepped on the leader and looked like a goddess of war who had just descended from the skies in many disciples' eyes. Gaia's brutal approaches, her imposing image, had all been deeply carved into the hearts of every single disciples and workers who witnessed the scene. Right now, her heroic image had become bigger and bigger in their minds. The battle tonight was an eye-opener for every disciple. All of them had realized why Ghost is keeping her with him all the time. A group of body-strengthening adventurers were all killed in just a few minutes by a body-refining stage girl. Such an incredible outcome wasn't possible even in the dreams of the people. Gaia waved his hand, then the cheering immediately quieted down. All of them looked at Gaia, awaiting her next command. This will be the outcome for those who dare to mess with us. Chapter 118. A few hours after the events of the Sunrise Sect, nightfall illuminated by the rise of stars so at Baron Totonk's manor in the black. Frost grew over the windows even as the duvet kept the girl in the room warm. The girl wore a silky nightgown and watched the ice crystals grow for a while, allowing her brain to be empty. The morning would bring the beauty of the ice for sure, that crunch under the boot and the bold greeting cold air brings. Yet between now and watching her breaths rise as new white puffed clouds, she knew that the night is going to be a cold one. Knock. 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 While the girl was looking at the distant sky through the window, someone knocked on the door softly. Come in. The door opened with a low creaking voice and then through the door came an old man who had his face covered with a dark hood. Miss Totonk, it seems there was a small hindrance to our plan, the old man said as Jane turned her gaze away from the distant sky to him. But Howard handled the situation and brought the girl here. The seriousness and the anger within her eyes disappeared. Her mouth curved upwards to reveal a small smile. Jane was prepared to punish the old man if he failed his task. She already had hatred towards Ghost simply because Selena hated him and she would hate anyone that Selena hates. Her mother passed away when she was just born and although Selena was just her cousin, Selena raised her like a little sister and for Jane, she was like a mother. Therefore when she heard Selena's complaints about a guy who tried to perv on her at the waterfalls, Selena wanted to tear the guy into pieces. Like pouring petrol into the fire, her anger burned hotter after she heard what happened in Heaven's Gate competition. By stepping onto the 100th step and standing beside Selena and Jack despite their strict order against it, Ghost disrespected Selena. That was why when she heard Ghost came to Bradford through her spies, she immediately went to the Green Heaven and picked a fight with him. She thought her bodyguards could kick the crap out of him but instead, he almost killed her bodyguards. What made her more furious was that when she told her father and asked him to punish Ghost, he sided with Ghost saying that it was her fault. Ever since she was born, he never raised his voice at her but because of Ghost, he chewed her out and made her cry her eyes out. From that day, she was plotting her revenge on Ghost and when she heard he's going into the Nether Realm, she put her plans of messing with his plans in motion. At first, she sent a couple of goons pretending to be customers to the Majestic to destroy the reputation of his new business. Then, she hired a group of bandits and ordered them to target Ghost's customers. As her next plan, she asked the old man who is her new bodyguard to hire a group of adventurers to harass the disciples and stop their renovation. Of course, by harassing, she meant breaking their bones just like Ghost did to her previous bodyguards as well as kidnap his girlfriend. Jane was planning to either sell her in the slave market or simply kill her and blame Brady as devil, Lucifer. Many of her father's men were put into the night guard because of this Lucifer who's brutally killing the criminals and crooks and leaving a horrific scene of crime behind. Baron Totonk had already sent people to the Church of the Two asking the priests and the holy guards to come to Breedia. The people were scared silly and Jane was prohibited to leave the manor in the night. Baron Totonk tried to protect the little devil from the real devil but he had no idea that she was trying to get the attention of the devil all along. Ha 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 ha, good work old man, where is that bitch? The old man was really surprised by Jane. When he first met her, he thought she's just a rich spoiled brat but after spending time with her, he realized that there is something ugly and rotten beneath her beautiful face. As her bodyguard, the old man advised her to drop her revenge against Ghost because her reasoning seemed silly. After all, He didn't live this long by holding grudges and plotting revenge against a mysterious prodigy like Ghost. The old man and her father and Selena herself told her to drop the matter between her and Ghost, but Jane was stubborn as a mule. I put her into one of the secret prisons and Howard is keeping an eye on her. Howard is keeping an eye on that bitch? What happened to his men? About that. Jane frowned, looking at the old man, dragging his words out. What? You can explain it on the way. She quickly changed her mind as she wanted to meet Ghost's girlfriend as soon as possible. The old man nodded and followed her behind towards the secret prisons which were built under the manor. On their way to the secret prisons, the old man explained what happened at the Sunrise sect and how Howard got captured by the girl as well as how he escaped capturing the girl. Jane was stunned by the old man's words and the curiosity of meeting the girl rose to the peak in her mind. Since it was nighttime and the way to the secret prison was restricted to servants and many low-level guards, they met fewer guards on their way. The underground prison was small. Baron Totonk didn't like to keep many prisons under here very much. Most criminals would face trial after a few days and either be released or sentenced to the main prison on the ground. In addition to the old man, Jane's other guards who were also the old man's team joined them and entered the prison. The prison had a total of 3 levels and the walls were built out of hard granite blocks. Although Jane was the daughter of the Baron, this was her first time coming here and she noted the deeper she got, the narrower the hallway became. Why is this place so wet and muddy? Jane frowned and twitched her nose as the ground was wet and the muddy sewage was flowing down the stairs, down to the last floor. Howard and the prisoner were at the bottom of the prison. Each layer they went down, the stench in the air became thicker. Miss Totonk, please be careful dealing with that girl. We still don't know the full extent of her abilities and strength. It was a man following Jane who had spoken. You mean to say that the 6 of you, core formation level 4 warriors, couldn't handle a body refining stage girl? Jane challenged. No, Miss Totonk, I mean. The man stammered. After hearing her reply, the old man turned his head and signaled everyone not to speak a word as he knew she wouldn't listen to them. This floor was many times smaller than the one above, with a total of only 3 to 4 cells. The warden lit the torches on the walls and as the darkness faded, Jane saw a girl sitting on a chair in the middle of the room with Howard standing behind her. The girl had her head covered with a black sack and Howard's light blue armor almost turned red by his own blood. The temperature in the dungeon was low enough to make people see white fog when they breathe out. The old man's group circled Jane while the old man himself stood by the girl on the chair's side in case she tried anything that would harm Jane. His first priority was protecting Jane and he wanted to do that to the best of his ability. Yet because of Jane's stubbornness, his job became more complicated and difficult. She did that to you? Humph, Jane snickered looking at Howard. In the light of the torches, she saw his legs trembling and couldn't help but look down on him. Howard on the other hand only just a few minutes ago realized that he was hired by the Baron's daughter through the old man. He wondered what Jane was planning to do with the girl. Yes, Howard answered meekly and everyone except the old man was stunned because he was a body-straightening cultivator while the girl was only at the body-refining stage. Since they were not there with Howard to see how she massacred his party, they had a hard time believing him. Of course, he would happily agree to kill this girl as she killed all of his adventuring party and tortured him till he wet his pants, but although the girl was tied to the chair as well as iron shackles were around her hands and legs, she wasn't a prisoner as they were thinking. She's not our prisoner, we are hers, Howard thought to himself while struggling to stop his body from shivering, not in cold but in overwhelming fear. Looking at Jane and the guards behind her who were staring at him cluelessly, Howard could only feel pity for them. At this moment, they did not know that they just brought the devil into their household and served themselves on a silver platter. Chapter 119, Where is your ghost now, bitch? Thud. 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 Jane asked angrily and started punching Gaia violently like a crazy animal. Howard stepped back from Jane and Gaia thinking what's going to happen to Jane. Mississippi. While Jane was punching Gaia, the old man noticed the girl on the chair isn't moving as she's supposed to. He frowned and tried to stop Jane. What? Jane turned her cold eyes at the old man and before the old man could say anything, she looked at Howard. You. Remove the sack, I want to see the look on her face while I break every single bone in her body." Yet even after hearing Jane's order, Howard stood still in the corner shivering to go towards Gaia. "Didn't you hear what I said?" Instead of walking forward towards Gaia, Howard stepped back further into the dark corner of the room. Everyone including the old man was stunned to see Howard cover in fear like this. The suspicion in the old man's heart got bigger as he himself went to remove the sack from the girl's head. Boom! However, the moment he touched the sack covering her head, a blast of force sent everyone in the room flying. One by one they hit the wall, and the force of their collision made the old room tremble. The force blast also put down all the torches except one, which didn't burn as bright as before but let out a small shimmer of light. While they were struggling to stand up, Howard saw the chair with the girl floating in midair. Oh my God! Like a scared little kid, Howard curled onto the corner in fear. Ha 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 ha! Suddenly a burst of evil laughter filled the room, and the very next moment, the small shimmer of light coming from the torch disappeared, making the room pitch black. What's happening? Leave me alone. Don't kill me, no. The old man himself began to feel afraid and heard some of his colleagues scream. He was a devotee of the peace god. He tried to fight the fear with the mantra he learned from the temple. Slowly, while chanting the mantra in his heart, he looked through the darkness to see a pair of red eyes staring at him. Ah! Right at that moment, he felt like his soul itself getting pierced by those red eyes and screamed in terror. The old man lost all his will to fight the fear and gave up to the fear, just like his colleagues. The very next moment, he noticed a puff of green glistening smoke traveling towards him, and in that glistening, he saw a figure standing in the darkness. Staring at the skinless face, he failed to respond to the puff of green smoke and inhaled it. Covering in the corner of the room, Howard heard a muffled groaning. For the next couple of minutes, he could hear groans like this and the sound of blood splattering. He wanted to escape the darkroom, but he couldn't even move an inch as his legs refused to move in overwhelming fear. Puff! Suddenly something lit one of the torches. Ah! He heard a scream of a girl, yet the voice didn't belong to the girl he brought, but it was Jane's. The golden-orange light radiating from the torch revealed the blood-stained walls and pools of blood on the ground. Jane was not a weak-hearted girl, but the fear toxin she just inhaled made her lose all her courage and strength. Coupled with the terrifying figure standing in front of her and the dead bodies around her, she screamed as loud as she could in fear. She tried to take her gaze away from the figure staring at her and saw the cold, dead eyes of her bodyguards. Their eyes and mouths were still open, and one could see the fear in their eyes they felt before leaving this world. They were butchered like cattle even before they could defend themselves. After collecting herbs from the Sky Garden, Michael enhanced the effectiveness of the fear toxin by using some of those rare herbs. Because of the linked space ring, Michael was able to give the fear toxin to Gaia. Gaia never expected the fear toxin to be this effective, as it scared these core formation cultivators to the point where they just lost their minds. Except for the old man, none could fight the fear toxin, and she simply butchered them to end their misery. She slowly walked towards Jane without uttering a word. Jane was still screaming, but she made sure that no matter how loud she screams, no one would hear her cry. When she tortured Howard by pulling a couple of his teeth out, he confessed all about how he met the old man and what he was hired to do. It was Michael who told her to go meet the old man as a hostage. Both Gaia and Michael had an idea that Jane might be behind the recent quarrels and bandit problem near the Sunrise sect. They also knew that if Jane was indeed behind this, she would make sure that the Baron doesn't know about anything, because he strictly ordered her to stay out of Ghost's way. Just like they planned, the old man used a secret tunnel to transport Howard and Jane into the underground prisons without alerting the Baron. Instead of go looking for Jane, they made sure Jane herself came to them. For the outside world, Howard and his group were killed by Gaia because they tried to extort more coins and harass the sect. No one would know what was his real motive or who hired, as the old man did everything related to the Sunrise sect very discreetly according to Jane's order. Pulch. Without even turning her back, Gaia kicked one of the swords on the ground and sent it straight through Howard's head. After killing Howard, she had erased all the evidence that could trace back to her and Michael. Now the only thing that remained her to do was kill Jane and end this feud. But before killing Jane, she wanted Jane to be sane, or at least less affected by the fear toxin. Therefore, she stopped radiating the fear toxin from her suit of armor. "A stupid bitch like you shouldn't have tried to mess with us." The voice modulator the system placed in her suit of armor transformed her voice to sound freaky and inhuman. Gaia grabbed Jane by her neck and lifted her up. What? Jane tried to speak, but Gaia tightened the grab around Jane's throat. "No, the time for you to speak is over. The moment you tried to mess with my human, you sealed your fate." Crack. The very next moment, Gaia snapped Jane's hand into two like a stick. "Ah! Ha 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 ha!" Jane screamed in agony, but Gaia laughed, looking at her pain. She knew that Jane would have done the same if she was weak and helpless. Thinking about how she beat her violently just a few moments ago, Gaia had no regret of torturing Jane. "If you want to blame someone, blame the god who put the brain in your ass and shit in your head." Su Li. Nah, despite the pain and fear, Jane let out the name of her cousin. "Don't worry, that bitch is on our list." There was a sudden terror emerged in Jane's eyes which showed the love and bond between her and Selena, because even in a situation like this, Jane worried and cared for Selena. Deep down in her heart, she hoped that Selena would come out of nowhere and save her from this girl. She wanted Selena to be her white knight in armor, but she did know that even if she appeared at the prison magically, she couldn't save her from Gaia, who was a core formation level 8 warrior. At this stage, even Michael would have a hard time defeating Gaia without getting the help of the system. She was a true genius who traveled many places and trained herself through many life and death battles, not a prodigy who would only fight in a tournament. Crack. She broke Jane's other arm as Jane started to lose her consciousness due to the pain and the blood loss. "Human," suddenly Gaia heard Michael's voice in her ears and nodded. She then took out the earpiece from her ear and placed it near Jane's ear. "Playtime's over, bitch." The very next moment after Jane heard these words, everything around her became dark. Gaia retrieved the dagger from Jane's head and threw her body aside. With a wave of her hand, a bright beam of light appeared out of her space ring and disappeared along with all the dead bodies. Michael ordered her to place the bodies somewhere public. He wanted the name Lucifer to be something like Voldemort, a name to be afraid of. People like Jane and cultivators should shudder in fear at the mere mention of Lucifer. First, he wanted to clean and get rid of all the righteous hypocrites and criminals like rapists, mass innocent murders like the blood and bones sect from this world. How could he let scum like these be in his world? He was not planning to rule a world that is infested with criminals and such. To do that, he had to spread fear and cleanse this world, starting from Breedia. By killing Jane and showing their bodies to the public, he had taken a big step in the path of becoming the Dark Lord that the Guardians are so afraid of. Chapter 120. The very next day Gaia killed Jane. She acted as nothing had happened and resumed her normal schedule. Like first thing in the morning, she filled her stomach with all the delicacies that Raylene cooked for her. After Michael turned her into a 5-star chef, Gaia made Raylene cook everything she likes and devoured everything in a couple of minutes. With her belly full, she would oversee the renovation of the sect. She ordered to tear down the entire quarters of the elders and Claire and build it from the ground up. Previously the elders stayed in a single big mansion, but now, she ordered the workers to build each elder a mansion in the country manor style. At the moment, they had almost finished 3 houses and were putting a foundation for the rest of them, including Claire's. She selected pure white paint for the walls and royal blue for the roofs. There were also flower beds and lush green lawns in front of these mansions in Gaia's mind, but first, she wanted these mansions to be built. Also, unlike before, she planned to build a separate building that would act as the main office. Since the Sunrise sect didn't lack land, only the time and resources like the workforce slowed her vision from becoming reality. She sent Jack to hire more adventurers and people from Rivertown to solve the workforce issue. For the student quarters, she ordered to tear down most of the houses and build new ones. Previously, 2 disciples shared one house that had 2 rooms and a small hall, but now, each student house would have 2-story with 2 rooms on each floor. Her plan was to make 4 students share one house to save space, because in the future when the Sunrise sect becomes the best, they would have thousands of students, and at that time, they would run out of houses if they went with the old plan. If an engineer from Earth was here, she would recognize the architecture for the student quarters as the colonial architecture style. Combined with Gaia's vision, each student house looked majestic, and when they were built, it would stun everyone with its beauty. Other than elder mansions and student quarters, she added new buildings to the plan such as library, combat range, state-of-the-art classrooms for practice alchemy, runes, and spells. Of course, it required not only millions of gold coins but also skilled workers to build many of the buildings in her mind. For now, she focused on building elder mansions and student quarters. To decorate the sect and ornate the sect, she wanted to hire the elves from the elven nation rather than hiring humans because elves specialized in ornamenting a place. For the state-of-the-art buildings, she had dwarves in her mind because just like elves specialized in ornamenting, dwarves were specialists in building and crafting. However, hiring these two was not a simple or cheap thing. It cost her almost 400,000 gold coins to hire a 3-star dwarven builder to build their restaurant according to Michael's plan. She spent another 300,000 gold coins to buy the required materials and shipping costs. In simple words, she spent almost 1.2 million gold coins on renovating the sect and building the restaurant. Fortunately, Majestic was doing extremely well as their customer base only grew bigger with each passing day. She was planning to hire more assistants to help the business, but she had no time to conduct interviews. "Good morning, Sister Elia. Good morning, Sister Elia." While she was taking a stroll around the student quarters, the disciples immediately bowed and greeted her. Some had pure fear in their eyes while others had a mix of fear and admiration. The disciples didn't just stand there but helped the workers in any way they could. Even the kids Michael rescued along with Cindy were helping the workers by supplying water and cool beverages to them. After her morning stroll, she came to the makeshift stable where she kept her new Pegasus. Since the previous Pegasus died at the Phoenix Island, she had Daniel pay for the dead Pegasus and hired another one. Before they opened the Majestic for business, she decided to check the progress of the restaurant in Rivertown. Plus, she wanted to see how the people are reacting to Jane's demise. "Let's go to Rivertown, Peggy." She patted the new Pegasus on the head and mounted it to fly to Rivertown, leaving the overseeing the renovation to Jack. Miss Elia, when she landed near the building site where a bunch of people was working tirelessly, Daniel and Ricky came running to greet Gaia. "Where is that dwarf?" She saw no dwarf in the working site and asked both of them. The dwarf completely tore down the entire building, unlike Michael and Gaia expected. Because of that, they were building the restaurant from the ground up, which led to more working and resources. "Where is Raylene?" Before they could answer, Gaia asked them, noticing no Raylene around. "Lord Gatmill and Lady Raylene went to Bradford, Miss Elia." Gaia noticed a glimmer of fear in Daniel's eyes while Ricky spoke. "Bradford? Why?" "Miss Elia, you knew Jane, right?" Ricky asked curiously as Gaia nodded. "The devil of Breedia killed her and all of her bodyguards." Unlike Daniel, there was no fear in Ricky's eyes, which surprised Gaia because weak people like him would be terrified in a situation like this. "Jane is dead? Are you serious?" She acted as she didn't know anything about Jane. Ricky and Daniel nodded. "Yes, Miss Elia, I just came from Breedia." "The entire city is in panic and the Baron sighed." Ricky sighed and felt pity for the Baron. "The man is broken into pieces. I had never seen a man cry like that." "Oh? Who is this devil of Breedia?" "Lucifer." The moment the name escaped Ricky's mouth, she noticed some people stop working and praying, looking at the sky. "Many people call him the devil of Breedia since he first appeared in Breedia." "Him?" She growled and sighed because it was her who pretended to be the hostage, punching bag of Jane and finally killed them. Yet, she was unable to take the credit, so she hid her emotions from showing on the face. "Why do you say it was Lucifer who killed them?" "The Baron has many enemies, Sister Elia. I saw the bodies. They were laid in a shape of L and Jane." There was a small pause in Ricky's voice for a few seconds before he continued. "She was hanged from the top of the manor. Lucifer broke her 2 arms. Sigh. She suffered before dying." Ricky obviously sympathized with Jane, but Gaia, who actually killed her, didn't feel a thing for Jane. Michael would have left her alive if she hadn't held off a grudge against him. Before dying, she sought revenge against him by messing with his business as well as trying to kidnap Gaia. Many, including the old man and Selena, advised her not to cross paths with Ghost, yet she did exactly the opposite and ended up losing her life. Unfortunately, the old man and his team became collateral damage. Miss Elia, if you want anything from Bradford, you should get it soon. The soldiers were talking about a lockdown. Entire garrison of Bradford is searching for Lucifer, and I heard the church is also coming in case he really is the devil, Daniel added. It was no surprise to Gaia that the church is coming to Bradford, because when something evil appears, they would come to cleanse the city with their holy guards. Aside from the garrison and the church, she also expected the guardians to act, as they would now suspect Lucifer to be the Dark Lord. With their current power, she knew they can't face either of those three. Fortunately for her, Michael could cultivate by killing netherils, and the orc was waiting in the abyssal to summon netherils for Ghost to kill. Michael and she were planning to stop terrorizing the kingdom for a couple of weeks till the heat goes down. Besides, after Ghost came out of Nether Realm, they would be busy managing their businesses as well as getting rich. Of course, they knew Selena would suspect him and come looking for trouble, but they had already devised a plan to deal with her. However, the spell Gaia was using to mask her cultivation was a legendary spell that could only be dispelled by a half-immortal. Considering Ghost was in the Nether Realm while Gaia killed Jane, the garrison or the guardians wouldn't allocate too many resources to investigate him. What do you think, Daniel? Don't you believe in the devil? Asked Gaia. Of course I do, Miss Elia, but I just think this is a work of a human. Don't be too sure, old man. That was not a work of a human, you know shit. Gaia thought inside as Ricky went on. I saw those eyes. It wouldn't be surprised if they were scared to death. If you don't finish your work here, I will gouge out your eyes. Gaia kicked Ricky on the bottom and chased him away. I want this built before Ghost returns, Gaia ordered Daniel. There were still 3 days until he returns, and she wanted to surprise him by giving him the new restaurant. Chapter 121. After getting the baby dragon and the ring of fire spell from Maisie, Michael spent the day roaming around the Nether Realm to find treasures. However, he had no luck finding another treasure like the Sky Garden or the baby dragon. When the daylight disappeared, he found another cave and decided to spend the night inside. Hoo-hoo-hoo, the darkness of the cave freaked out the baby dragon as it rubbed its head against Michael's chin while groaning. You shouldn't be afraid of darkness, baby dragon, he said after gently massaging the baby dragon's head. He then bought a torch and placed it inside the cave, not because of the baby dragon's fear of darkness, but he wanted to see the baby dragon with no one interrupting. He sat on the ground lifting up the dragon-like baby. Mud and blood stains covered its body, preventing him from seeing the baby dragon's color. Staring at the wonderment in his eyes, the baby dragon tilted its head. Everything seemed like a dream to him. He never expected in a million years that he would be transmigrated to another world and presented with an opportunity to control the entire world such as this one. Holding the baby dragon in his hands brought some memories he was desperate to forget. Yet, the prickly tongue of the baby dragon stopped his train of thought. Let's clean you up. He opened the system to buy a small bathtub so he could get rid of all the blood and mud stains from the baby dragon. The baby dragon's eyes were filled with curiosity when he placed the bathtub beside him. He then moved on to fill the tub with scented water. Hoo-hoo, surprisingly for Michael, the baby dragon shook its head, showing its reluctance to water. This act of the baby dragon reminded him of the dogs back on Earth who also hated taking a bath. The scaly little bastard might be a noble dragon but acted like a spoiled puppy. Nope, you're getting a bath, he flicked on its forehead, ignoring the protesting of the little dragon. The baby dragon was an intelligent creature. It realized that its protests were going to be in vain. HRR Hugh. He felt the baby dragon's body getting warm. The closer he took the dragon to the tub, the warmer its body got. Alf, a sudden puff of flame came after he heard the dragon cough. Whoa, although he was quick enough to save his hair from getting burned, he was still surprised to see the baby dragon breathe fire. Do that again, he said gleefully, rubbing the baby dragon's head. Who, Alf, he heard the sound again, yet unlike before, he didn't see any stream of fire, not even a puff of smoke from the dragon's mouth. Alf, the baby dragon coughed again and again and again, trying its best to breathe fire, except it failed to accomplish this feat again. It's okay, you're still too little to breathe fire. Seeing the baby dragon struggling to breathe fire, he comforted the scaly creature, hiding his doubt and disappointment. Hoo! While the dragon was distracted, he merged it in the water. The baby dragon cried in shock and fluttered its scaly wings, trying to escape from the clutches of this cold water. Michael had his hands full with the little dragon, who now had absolute hate for water for the next couple of minutes. He used enough force to keep the dragon still while he rubbed the dirt and blood stains off of its body. As the dirt washed up on the water, he started to see the glimmering crimson scales, the pitch-black claws, and the thin yet tough wings. On its head, he noticed swellings. He may not be an expert on dragon anatomy, but he watched enough dragons in the movies to know that swellings would soon become horns. He lifted up the baby dragon from the bathtub only after he made sure there wasn't a speck of single dirt on its body. The baby dragon gnawing his hand as an act of revenge, but those baby teeth weren't strong enough to hurt Michael. He cuddled the dragon, giving a soft kiss on its scaly forehead. Soon, those vertical slit pupils became round. At the same time, it puppy-eyed him to make him chuckle. After playing with the dragon a little, both of them watched the darkness outside in silence until the baby dragon fell asleep, curling itself on Michael's lap. Right when the first light appeared, Michael left the cave searching for treasures. The baby dragon stared at every single thing like grass and tree in wonder, sitting comfortably on his shoulder. Michael was disappointed in the nether realm because people said although the place was filled with dangers, it also filled with treasures, but in his experience, the only treasure he came across was the Sky Garden. Of course, he got the baby dragon with the help of the system, yet it wasn't true for others. He preferred getting out of this place if this situation continued rather than wasting his time wandering around aimlessly. But soon, the Lady Luck surprised him with the sight of a large crowd in front of what seemed like an enormous cave. He walked cautiously towards the crowd and stood behind a large tree to see what's going on before acting. Well then, everyone, there's not much time left. We should plan accordingly now that we have 6 rare weapons here. We'll definitely be able to destroy those magical beasts and reduce the casualties to an absolute minimum, he heard a man's voice. No wonder they are called the rare weapons, their strength is far too strong. Those big sects are rich as fuck. With a rare weapon in their hands, each of them can battle a body-strengthening stage beast. With the right strategy, they could even kill one. Many of the men there began to chat among themselves in quiet voices with a fear of speaking too loud. There are a total of 4 magical beasts, each one of them is extremely dangerous and powerful. It requires 2 of us with a rare weapon in order to fight one of them to a standstill. I can only guess that it would take 3 of us with a rare weapon to kill one of the magical beasts. We have 6 rare weapon users, meaning that we can kill 2 of them, the other 2 will have to be dealt with by the others. Michael recognized this voice, it belonged to Evan Clark, one of the prodigies from the Morning Star. The last time he met Evan was on the battlefield fighting the Netherals in Rivertown. We have plenty of level 10 body refining warriors, with the last 2 magical beasts, they'll be able to deal with them. Although no one else would have a rare weapon, the amount of them is enough to handle the last 2 beasts, another feminine voice said. Victoria, he instantly recognized Victoria by her voice. Knowing that these 2 were here, he realized that there must be something valuable inside the cave and worth exploring, not to mention he could harvest badass points by taking the spotlight from these so-called prodigies. That's correct, if we all work together, then we will be able to break past the defensive line of the magical beasts. I agree to this plan, Victoria said. I agree as well, followed by Victoria's voice. He heard Hannah Berry's voice. What is she doing here? Flashing the Netherals to death, Michael chuckled inside. The crowd saw 3 of the 5 experts had all agreed while the other 2 remained silent. Noah, Alicia, if we may have your opinion. Evan looked at Alicia and Noah and then the little girl beside them. I see no problems. Both Noah and Alicia nodded their head in agreement with Evan's plan. Seeing the strongest among them give their agreement, Evan had a look of excitement on his face. Then, taking a glance at the crowd, he spoke in a loud voice, everyone, now that the 5 experts have all united to enter the Immortals' Cave, I hope that everyone will stand with us. Our combined strength will be enough to kill the magical beasts, and whoever enters the cave will be able to take what they find. As soon as Evan finished his speech, everyone stood up at once and began to cheer loudly. Each one of these men was at level 10 of the body refining stage, and with their rare weapons, they were on par with body strengthening level 5 warriors. If you are not above at least level 7, then don't throw your life away. We are only inviting those who at the peak level to fight with us. Victoria yelled out loud, causing those who didn't meet the criteria to be displeased. Victoria sounded arrogant as usual. The way she spoke irked many people, but they had to stay back unless they wanted to end up as magical beast turds. After this, those who weren't strong enough to face the magical beasts could only retreat away from the cave grounds, leaving behind around 70 men. Each of them was at or above the level 7 body refining stage with a strong background and a determined face. Good, then let's have everyone here so we can plan things out. I propose that we split up into 4 groups, each one will deal with a single magical beast. Does anyone have any opinions? Evan spoke. This plan's fine, I agree. I agree as well. Everyone began to ask their questions. Shouldn't we wait for Ghost? Among the crowd, a person asked, making Michael grin. Chapter 122. After the man asked the question, among the crowd, there were a few moments of silence. It was Victoria who broke this silence with her words, "We are not waiting for anyone. The people here are more than enough to slay those 4 beasts." She left no place for anyone to talk back. Ever since he humiliated her during Heaven's Gate competition by Spartan kicking her off the stage, the seed of hate towards Ghost had grown into a giant tree in her heart. Every time she hears the name Ghost, a flash of anger would emerge from her soul itself. Hearing the name she hates the most again, deep down she hoped he had died somewhere in the nether realm. "That bitch didn't change a bit," Michael said to the little dragon as it tilted its head confused. Evan smiled. "Ghost can join the fight when he comes here. For now, the inner group here has enough people to split into 2 groups. The rest of the men here should split into 2 groups as well. Does anyone have any objections?" The inner group Evan had mentioned were all standing right next to him. All of them belonged to either one of the 3 sects or a powerful faction like the Guardian Guild. Behind the tree, Michael was scanning the area to detect the so-called 4 magical beasts they were meticulously planning to defeat. His closed eyes opened abruptly when he detected the magical beasts using his environmental scanning. For core formation level 7, these beasts were not something he could handle alone. Maybe with Gaia, he could have defeated one, but even with her at his side, no way in hell he could have killed more than 2. Fortunately, these guys were preparing to fight the beasts, leaving him to plot a plan of his own. On the other side, Evan spoke to the others, for magical beasts are guarding the Immortals' Cave. The names of each of these strong magical beasts are the Winged Ash Snake, Golden Lightning Lion, Bearded Earthworm, and the Ground Terror. After examining them closely, we've already established that their strength is the same as each other. The only difference is their innate skills. The Winged Ash Snake is capable of flying and spitting out an extremely potent acid. If it takes off into the air, then it will be extremely hard to deal with. The Golden Lightning Lion has an extremely high defense because of its golden scales. As the name suggests, it can also spit out lightning as well as discharge electricity from its body. It would be best for everyone to stay away from it. The Bearded Earthworm is a special variation of an earthworm. It has an equally strong defense to the Golden Lightning Lion, but its only weakness is, it is slow. If anyone has speed spells, the Bearded Earthworm will be your best target. Few of them who had speed-enhancing spells decided to take on the Bearded Earthworm. The last one is the Ground Terror and our biggest headache. Its attack strength isn't as strong as the other 3, but the most annoying trait about it is that it's fast, extremely fast. In a blinking moment, it can drill deep into the earth to evade our attacks and then strike out from underneath. It is completely silent when it's underground and leaves behind no trace. It can attack from underneath one's foot at any time, and while it is the weakest in terms of attacks, its attacks are generally unblockable. At the mention of the Ground Terror, Victoria's eyes narrowed angrily. Clearly, she had fought one before and ended up on the losing side. "Evan, which magical beast do you think we should take on?" Noah asked from the side. "We should target the Winged Ash Snake. We have 3 rare weapons, and one of them is a longbow. If the Winged Ash Snake were to take to the skies, then we could shoot it down. We also have a whip that can tether and restrict the snake's mobility. At the very least, we could prevent it from taking to the skies. These 2 weapons are the bane of the Winged Ash Snake." Evan spoke with no hesitation. Noah thought for a moment before nodding his head in agreement. Makes sense, since Abel went missing, Noah wasn't his usual self, or he would have taken the initiative to lead the group against these 4 magical beasts. Alicia hoped they would find Abel soon, alive and well. After hearing Evan, Victoria spoke up. The bearded earthworm has extremely strong defenses and has a lot of strength as well. The average body refining stage warrior wouldn't be able to do any damage to it, and without a rare weapon, its defenses cannot be pierced. I will lead a group to take this one, the others can deal with Golden Lightning Lion and Ground Terror. In a flash, the discussion was over. The most annoying magical beast, the Ground Terror, who had an unavoidable and unblockable attack, and the strongest magical beast, the Golden Lightning Lion, were given to the last two divisions. Hannah Berry led one while a rogue cultivator led the other. Although the men in those two divisions were displeased, they weren't able to say anything. The winged ash snake was capable of flight, which would render all those on the ground helpless. It would also be able to strike at the men on the ground with its potent acid, so this magical beast was best suited for the group with the longbow and whip user. I should pick the weakest beast. He recalled what Evan said about all the beasts, thinking which beast he should target. Without another thought, he removed the Ground Terror from his mind. That left him with three options: the Golden Lightning Lion, the bearded earthworm, and the winged ash snake, except Noah and his group picked the winged ash snake. Considering he couldn't use the long-ranged weapon as good as Gaia, he decided to leave the winged ash snake to his group. Finally, after deep thinking, he chose the bearded earthworm as his target. He had two reasons to choose the earthworm. First, he could use its slowness to his advantage, and second, he would be able to steal the spotlight from Victoria as well as get more badass points from the system. Although the Ground Terror and Golden Lightning Lion were both hard to deal with, the remaining two divisions were strong in their own right and had many people. With at least 30 peak body refining stage warriors against a single magical beast, the problem shouldn't be that big. After walking towards the cave for a few minutes, everyone came to a stop as they spotted the remains of a battleground. Some were engulfed by greediness. They thought they could make their way into the cave without alerting the 4 beasts guarding the cave entrance, except they couldn't. Suddenly, the thunderous roar of a magical beast could be heard as it shook both the heavens and the earth with an ear-splitting sound. Then, 3 enormous magical beasts came into view. One massive python of large width with a head bigger than the height of a fully matured man and black wings. This was the winged ash snake. Right next to the winged ash snake was a gigantic lion with a ferocious look and body covered with golden scales. Occasionally, a ripple of electricity would dance across its body. This was the Golden Lightning Lion. To the side of the Golden Lightning Lion was a lizard-like magical beast that was 1 meter tall and 10 meters long. 4 stumpy legs held it up from the ground, and its body was completely covered by grayish scales. The most iconic feature of this magical beast was the long beard hanging from its chin. Obviously, everyone recognized this as the bearded earthworm. As these 3 magical beasts appeared, everyone felt a sudden surge of power in the air, pressing against their chest as if there were a heavy stone there, making them difficult to move. Don't panic now, the Ground Terror might still be underground, so be careful, Victoria said as she held up her flaming sword and charged toward the bearded earthworm. Following straight behind, Noah, Evan, Alicia, and their group charged at their target. Standing atop a tree branch, Michael watched the battle starting between the magical beasts and the youngsters. On his shoulder, the baby dragon craned its neck to see the battle. Hoo, maybe he was wrong, but the baby dragon sounded like it's asking why isn't he taking part in the battle. Let them fight and weaken the beasts, then I will take out the weakest. Note this baby dragon, do not pick a fight that you cannot win. The baby dragon moved its head up and down acknowledging his advice. Michael had 2 plans. In plan A, he would kill the beasts after they weakened the beasts using all their spells and attacks. In plan B, he would simply dash into the cave while the 4 beasts were occupied with the youngsters. Of course, he could ask the system to get a perfect solution, but he decided to test himself to prove himself that he could survive without the system's help, because overly depending on the system might become his weakness in the future. To take out these beasts and overcome this situation, he would use his current as well as the skill set he learned as an assassin. At that moment, aside from the Ground Terror, the other 3 magical beasts began to take action. He focused on the bearded earthworm to study all of its movements and attacks. This is going to be a battle where Michael had to depend on himself completely rather than the system. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.